They call me Wang Nom Nom, and the testing stone gave me 5 spiritual roots. Every elder in the hall looked away at once. 5 is the worst straw there is. A whole life of cultivating and never once arriving. Then a panel bound me to the family itself. Every day the Wang family survives, I gain a year of life, and I can spend those years to buy the progress my roots will never earn me. My aptitude stopped mattering. My clan is my cultivation now. Like the video, hit subscribe and the next part lands in your feed automatically. Easy trade. But to understand the gift, you have to see the curse first. Let me start over. The Wang family of Jiangshan County is known for a good distance in every direction. One foundation establishment expert at the top, and nearly 10 late-stage Qi refinement cultivators under him. We hold a medium-grade second-tier spiritual vein in the Jiangshan mountain range, and our legacy runs back several hundred years. I am the 9th child of the Nam generation, Wang Nam Nam, 12 years old and carrying 5 spiritual roots, metal and wood and water and fire and earth. That is the politest way anyone here has of calling my talent garbage. The adults call me precocious. They have no idea. In the cool of my immortal cave halfway up the mountain, I sit on my meditation cushion and push out a long turbid breath. The smile on my face must look very lively in the morning sun. Half a year of grinding the 5 elements scripture has finally carried me into the first layer of Qi refinement. That is all 6 months of honest work buys a 5 spiritual roots cultivator. I settle the spiritual Qi before it can scatter. The spiritual Qi moving through my meridians scours them clean and leaves a deep comfort behind it. And since I transmigrated into this world, nothing has felt this good. I laugh at the stone ceiling because real cultivation has officially begun for me, and that alone would have made half the people from my old life sick with envy. Whatever the transmigration did to me, it fused me into this world so completely that most of my previous life has gone quiet. Then, while I am still feeling out the changes in my body, a line of text opens in front of my eyes. It asks whether I wish to bind the Wang family as my cultivation family. I choose to bind before I have finished reading the question, which is either instinct or greed, and the text rearranges itself into something else. It gives me my name, then my age set against a second number, 12 against 98. It gives me my realm, the first stage of Qi refinement with a small plus sign waiting beside it. It gives me my cultivation technique, the 5 elements scripture, a tenth of the way into beginner, with another plus sign of its own. Then a flood of memory that was never mine pours into my head and explains exactly what I am looking at. A cheat. I sit there stupid with it for a moment. Bound to the family, every single day the family continues to exist adds 1 year to my lifespan. I can spend that lifespan to raise my realm, my cultivation techniques, and the proficiency of any cultivation art I pick up. 1 year burned buys the same progress that 1 year of my own brutal, diligent practice would have bought, which means the arithmetic of my immortality runs straight through the survival of the Wang family. If I want to live forever, the clan has to live forever first, and small clans in the cultivation world do not last long. So the family has to grow. And that is not sentiment talking. The panel is plain enough. Only my name, my age, my realm, and whatever cultivation techniques I've learned. 12 years lived, and 98 left to spend, and almost a century of runway is not a bad hand. The technique ladder has 5 rungs: beginner, proficient, minor achievement, major achievement, and perfection. And after half a year, the 5 elements scripture has crawled 1/10 into the first. That figure is a brutal review of my talent. I press the plus sign behind it to see what happens. Something enormous pours into me at once, experience and spiritual Qi together, and my whole body shakes with it. 1 year is gone from my count, 97 left, and the 5 elements scripture has jumped from a tenth of beginner up to 3/10. So a year of my life buys 20%. I admit to the empty cave that I really am useless, since a cultivator with decent roots would squeeze far more out of the same year. Then again, a cultivator with decent roots does not have this, so I keep pressing. The proficiency climbs fast, and I stop it dead at 9/10 of beginner. The plus sign behind my realm I do not touch. Yesterday I was a mortal who could not even sense spiritual Qi. If I turn up at breakfast sitting on the second layer of Qi refinement, there is no story on earth that covers it. My own clansmen would do nothing about it, but outsiders soul search boys like me and then take them apart to see what made them work. 12 against 93 now, still the first layer. The 5 elements scripture fat at 9/10 of beginner, and I get up satisfied and go find my parents. A 12-year-old lives with his parents, and I am no exception. My father, Wang Sung-myung, carries 4 spiritual roots, metal and wood and water and fire, and ranks 7th in his generation. He sits at the 3rd layer of Qi refinement and happens to be the clan chief's blood grandson. My mother, Ju Min, carries 4 as well, wood and water and fire and earth, and she came to us out of the Ju family, another foundation establishment house. She holds the 4th layer of Qi refinement and is a talisman master of the 1st grade medium tier. Their marriage was arranged as an alliance, but the two of them genuinely like each other. which is more than most such arrangements manage. They had 2 sons and a daughter, and I am the only one born with spiritual roots, so my brother and sister were sent away to live in a mortal city. Breakfast is rice cooked from spirit rice, and every mouthful leaves a fragrance ordinary grain cannot produce, which with spirit beast meat beside it keeps me quiet and busy a long while. This is one of the plain advantages of being a cultivator, because what mortals eat is not in the same world. My parents watch me shovel it in, and their faces go soft. My mother asks, sounding surprised whether I have broken through, and I tell her around a full mouth that it happened this morning. My father says that breaking through is good, and that once I reach the 3rd layer of chi refinement I can choose a cultivation art and stop worrying about my future. He drops another piece of spirit beast meat onto my plate. I make agreeable noises, empty the bowl, and get out the door. Every child in the Wang family gets basic schooling between 6 and 12, and after the spiritual root test at 12, the ones with roots begin cultivating. The family feeds and houses us until 18, and after that a clansman buys his own cultivation resources. So I have 6 clear years with nothing to do but cultivate. Day-to-day supervision is left to each set of parents, and the strictness varies wildly from cave to cave. Mine give me a very long leash, because I am steady and chase my own practice without being pushed. So they answer whatever I do not understand and otherwise leave me be. It is astonishing how much freedom a well-behaved child can buy. I go straight down to the family library, since every clansman is entitled to 3 chi refinement cultivation techniques for free. My first pick was the 5 elements scripture, which tempers all 5 root types at once, and makes both chi and mental energy sturdier. It is the standard answer to a standard problem for a 5 spiritual roots cultivator. Now I have thought of something else, and I intend to trade up for it. The library is empty this early. Nobody at the entrance, though the Wang family elder who guards the place is upstairs. I stop in the doorway and call out that Wang Nam Nam has come to collect a free cultivation technique, then walk in. The shout is procedure, not politeness. The elder keeps watch over every shelf whether he stands at the door or not, so nothing walks out quietly, and announcing myself earns me the right to browse. The library has 3 floors, and the first holds every chi refinement technique the Wang family has gathered over the centuries, the only earthly square I am qualified to enter. I walk past 7 or 8 tall bookshelves to the most prominent one, reach for the most conspicuous slot, and take down a technique called the turtle breath concealment art. The name alone tells the whole story. The turtle breath concealment art is a chi refinement technique that can be carried all the way up to the 9th layer. At beginner, it lays a rough cover over a cultivator's aura, and at proficient, nobody of the same realm can pick him out of a room. Minor achievement makes him hard to find even for cultivators 3 to 5 minor realms above him, and major achievement hides his presence from someone a full major realm higher. At perfection, the aura is simply gone, and other cultivators look straight past him without ever deciding to. Carrying it out, something snags at me. Why would the family put this technique in the most prominent slot on the most prominent shelf, when it has no offensive power and is useless for the mass cultivation a clan normally cares about? Every other technique in that room is worn soft at the corners from borrowing, but the turtle breath concealment art looks copied out yesterday and never once opened. I will have to return it eventually. What I never see is the elder sliding another pristine copy into the same slot the moment I am out the door. I stop wondering about it. Back at my immortal cave, both parents are already gone, since adult cultivators of the Wang family all hold posts inside the clan and leave early and come home late. I shut the door, settle onto the cushion, read the turtle breath concealment art through, and start running it. The panel adds a line for it, sitting at nothing at all, not even into beginner, with a plus sign waiting beside it. I put out one small pale hand and press that plus sign over and over, and I feel my own presence thinning out of the room with every press. When I stop, the turtle breath concealment art reads perfection, and my reserve has fallen from 93 years down to 53. 40 years spent in a single sitting. It sounds obscene until the rule comes back to me, which is that every day the family survives hands me another year. So 40 years costs a little over a month of ordinary clan life. If that is too slow, I can go hunting for techniques or medicinal pills that stretch a lifespan further. Lifespan is for the moment the cheapest thing I own. The numbers teach me something else. The gain per year shrinks as the tier climbs. So at beginner 1 year bought a 10th of the bar, while at proficient the same year bought half that. The scaling only gets uglier as my realm rises, which means the cheap purchases are the ones to make now. Still, the perfected turtle breath concealment art earns back every year I paid. Nobody of full great realm above me can read my true depth. And better than that, the people around me let their attention slide off me without ever noticing. Inside the family, that means I can use my cheat more or less as I please, as long as I do not go standing around in front of my great-grandfather, the clan chief. On paper, he is the only foundation establishment great cultivator the Wang family has. What the family keeps off paper, I do not know yet. With my own business settled, I start thinking about the clans. My longevity is chained to the family's survival, so only when it prospers do I prosper. My cheat will not do a thing for anyone but me. The only real help I can offer is to push my own realm up fast, and guard the clan from behind a curtain. After that I can pick up a few cultivation arts and find ways to bring resources in. A girl's voice comes piping through the cave door before I get any further, telling me to come out because it is time to catch spirit fish. I slap my forehead because I had genuinely forgotten. Several children my age agreed yesterday to go down to the foot of the Jangsan mountain range today, still Wang family territory, where the spirit water fields are. The clan works that land hard, so along with the spirit rice they raise palm-sized spirit loaches in the flooded paddies. Spirit loaches cannot fight, cannot outrun anything with hands, and taste wonderful cleaned and skewered over a fire, which makes them exactly what a pack of small brats considers treasure. We never take enough to matter, so the adults look the other way. Outside, the girl waiting on me is round-cheeked and honestly adorable, her pigtails swinging with impatience. She is Wang Namyo, my paternal aunt's daughter, my age. Another 5 spiritual roots cultivator. I have heard my aunt track down enough spirit medicines to bathe her up to the 2nd layer of chi refinement. That is the odd thing about this clan. Nearly every child born with roots here these past years has come out with 4 roots or 5, and almost nobody with 3. Namyo tells me to hurry because everyone is waiting, then takes off at a run. 7 or 8 of them are already gathered, all Wang family peers of about my age and all thoroughly rotten. Wang Namyon, bright-eyed and quick, reminds us to go fast and come back fast or our backsides will pay for it again. She comes from the bloodline of the clan chief's sister, rather than the clan chief's own. The Wang family cuts its generations every 50 years, so every clansman born with spiritual roots inside a 50-year window shares one generation name, which is why every child here answers to Nam. Namyon shouts at us to charge and bring back 10 spirit loaches apiece, which is how anyone can tell she has appointed herself our big sister. We run for the foot of the mountain along the blue stone path, and the spirit rice fields open wide and green, the smell of wet soil and grain rolling up to meet us. Everyone piles into the paddies, stepping neatly around the standing spirit rice, and goes elbow deep into the muddy water hunting for movement. The silt is very soft, and squeezing a handful sends the water running out between the fingers. A spirit loach hiding in that handful slides out along with it, which is why catching them is a genuine skill. None of us are beginners at it. Wang Namgyang, one of my clan brothers' 2nd layer of chi refinement, comes up howling that he has the first one, and the rest of us get envious and get faster. I work the edges of the field for loach tracks, a trick I worked out myself and have never bothered to share. Loach after loach goes into the bamboo cages, and they fill faster than anyone expects. Namgyang calls a halt, because there is a hard ceiling on how much we can take. Once we came home with 7 or 8 full cages, and the spirit plant farmer elders caught us and beat the ambition out of every one of us, before dumping most of the loaches back. The group crowds around the full cage laughing anyway, and we lift it between us and start for the secret base to build a fire. Then 2 cultivators come down out of the sky on their swords. One of them we all know, our own clan chief, Wang Myongge. The other is a female cultivator in a green shirt and a white robe. And my great-grandfather is being so careful with her that the carefulness itself tells me something. The 2 of them hang in the air and look down. The clan chief waves a hand. Namyo lifts off the ground out of nothing at all and floats up between them. And then all 3 turn and fly back toward the family. The rest of us stare at each other with no idea what we just watched. Namyon tells Namgyang to go find an elder and get the story, and says the rest of us will wait at the old spot. Namgyang is gone before she finishes, and the rest of us walk to the old spot, an abandoned immortal cave at the edge of the Wang family grounds where almost nobody goes. We found it years ago, and it has been the children's secret base since. By the time the spirit loaches are spitting oil over the fire, and someone has thrown salt across them, the smell has all of us staring hungrily at the skewers. Namgyang comes back at a run, drops into the middle of the circle and gets his breath before telling us he found out everything. He says the female cultivator who came in with the clan chief is an elder of the Shenong sect, 3rd level of foundation establishment. She came to take Namyo away to the sect to cultivate. One of our cousins blurts out that this means Namyo belongs to the Shenong sect from now on. Every one of us knows what the Shenong sect is, a golden core sect, one of the local overlords, and our Wang family counts as a vassal of it. Namyon asks whether Namyo went willingly. Namgyeon shakes his head and says the Shenong sect chose her and she had no right to refuse. The Foundation establishment great cultivator had already carried her off before he even started back to us. Then he says there is more. The cultivation families around here apparently hold an agreement with the Shenong sect, and every 10 years each of them hands over 1 cultivator under the age of 16 for training. My face goes cold while he is still talking. If that is true, my cousin is not a student, she is collateral. Cultivation families almost never let a clansman with spiritual roots leave for another power. Even when a female cultivator chooses a Dao companion, the family demands the man marry in instead. There are never enough spiritual roots born inside a clan to cover its own needs, let alone somebody else's. So taking one child from every family every 10 years is not really about strengthening the Shinong sect. It is about tying every family in the district to it with a rope made out of children. Some families send disciples over on their own initiative to get closer to the sect, though those still have to clear its entry standards. Another cousin asks, sounding wretched, whether that means we will never see Namyo again. Namjung starts to scoff that she has only gone off to cultivate and we can visit whenever we like. And then his voice runs out from under him. The Shinong sect is neither far nor close, but it is not a distance children who just touched chi refinement can cross. Namyo is gone for years. Nobody touches the roasted spirit loach after that. A companion all of us grew up with was lifted out of a rice paddy and carried off in front of us, and the fire loses its point. The Shinong sect is openly extorting people out of these families, and not one family pushes back, because not one is strong enough, so they get carved up politely and thank the knife. That is the whole lesson in a single afternoon. Everyone divides the loaches without any of the usual noise and goes home. My feet take me back to the library without asking my opinion, since I have one free cultivation technique left to claim. I return the turtle breath concealment art first, then start along the first floor shelves. Between the 5 elements scripture for my foundation, and the turtle breath concealment art for cover, what I lack is anything that attacks, defends, or runs. Something that lengthens a lifespan would be better still. Then again, maybe a cultivation art is the better use of the slot. I will be living inside the Wang family for years yet, so nothing here is going to try to kill me, which pushes offense and defense and escape down the list. As for anything that stretches a life, the first floor does not stock it, and I am not sure the family owns such a thing at all. I walk to the shelves that hold cultivation arts instead, and the number of books crowded onto them makes my eyes swim. Every one is only a first-grade legacy, and everyone is still precious. I start going through them looking for the one that fits me. Alchemy is out, because a pill furnace and spirit medicine both cost spirit stones I do not have. Puppet Master fails the same test and Formation Master is no kinder. By the time I have worked the whole shelf, the only path that costs almost nothing to enter is the spirit plant farmer. Its main expense is spirit plant seeds, and the family has crates of those. I take down the spirit plant husbandry basic compendium. With my cheat behind me, I intend to develop in every direction eventually, and this is the first step. I carry the book up to Wang Yonghui and tell him I have chosen it as my last free cultivation technique. He is one of the oldest men in the family, and he says that reaching for cultivation arts when I have only just broken into the first level of chi refinement is hasty. I answer that I am a 5 spiritual roots cultivator who may never see the late stages of chi refinement at all, so learning one early can hardly hurt me. He does not argue because everyone alive knows how slowly 5 spiritual roots move. He waves me off and it is settled, and any technique after this one I buy with family contributions. A spirit plant farmer earns though, so my first pot of gold is accounted for. Most of a day disappears inside my immortal cave with that book. It is thick, covering the basic knowledge every spirit plant farmer has to carry, and then the part actually worth spirit stones, a long catalog of cultivation methods for first-order spirit plants and spirit medicine. There are also 3 basic spells no spirit plant farmer is without. The first is the spirit rain technique, which at perfection pulls the surrounding spiritual chi down as rain and waters 1,000 acres of spiritual fields. The second is the golden gyung sword art, which lets a cultivator with a metal spiritual root turn the spiritual chi in his body into sword chi for weeding and pest control. At perfection, it turns that same sword chi on people. The third is the catalysis technique, and that one is the heart of the whole profession. The catalysis technique coaxes spirit plant seeds into sprouting and lifts their germination rate. Beyond that, it drags a living spirit plant's growth forward, shaving 1/10 off the growing time at beginner and half of it at perfection. Half. That is the kind of number that rearranges a clan's finances. It is also brutal to cultivate, so most first-grade spirit plant farmers scrape into proficient and stop, and only the rare genius reaches minor achievement. Night has fallen when I look up, and my parents come home for dinner. I tell them over the meal, before either can ask, that I mean to take up the spirit plant farmer's legacy, and that the compendium is already in the cave. If I am going to lift this family up, I need one visible talent that explains everything I do while everything else stays buried. Besides, the library keeps records, so one idle question would have exposed it anyway. They both look up, puzzled, because clan cultivators normally wait for the 3rd level of chi refinement before choosing a cultivation art. I give them the same explanation I gave the elder, and it lands. My father says that if I intend to learn the trade, he will find me a master, since a son who has chosen a road deserves a father who paves it. Spirit plant farmers are the foundation a family stands on, because the spiritual rice everyone eats and the spirit medicine everyone burns through come out of their fields. After dinner, he takes me out with him. We end up on prayer mats in another immortal cave, facing a couple with 2 infants in swaddling clothes between them. Wang Sung-tan is a descendant of the clan chief's younger brother, and one of the very few spirit plant farmers in my father's generation. My father says it plainly, that his son wants to learn the trade and he wants me apprenticed. The fee is no trouble, since my mother is a talisman master and they will pay in talismans. A family legacy is either dug out of books alone or handed down by a master, and a master expects paying. Wang Sang-tan laughs the offer off, saying it is good for the family that his nephew wants to farm spirit plants. The two of them grew up side by side, so nobody here stands on ceremony. Then he asks whether I actually understand the spirit plant farmer path. I tell him I traded for the compendium today and read it through, and that I have a rough grasp of it. He looks me over the way adults look at a child who sits too still. Then he tells me to come down to the spiritual fields every morning, to work and learn at once, to get those 3 spells moving quickly, and to ask the moment anything confuses me. Last, he reminds my father to register the choice with the family, since every clan member's cultivation art goes on record, so the family knows what work to hand him at adulthood. Back on my own prayer mat with the candle throwing shapes across the wall, the trade is settled, and only one thing is left. I have to let a little of my talent show, just enough to build a road for everything I plan to hand this family later. I spend a year of my life on the catalysis technique. A cool stream runs through my head, and it comes out the other side at 1% a beginner. 1%. A full year of grinding practice buys exactly that, which puts proficient 100 years out, and a chi refinement cultivator only gets about 100 years for everything. So that is why first grade spirit plant farmers all die somewhere between beginner and proficient, and without my cheat, I would have 2. I pull a handful of weeds from outside the door and try the technique on them. Spiritual chi runs out of me and into the plants, and I feel them thicken and push, alive in a way they were not a breath earlier, and then my spiritual chi is gone. I have been buying proficiency and ignoring the tank it draws from. The higher the realm, the more spiritual chi a body holds and the harder any technique lands, so realm first and catalysis technique second from here on. I spend down and let the spiritual chi rise until it breaks into the second layer of chi refinement. 2 years for that one step, where half a year of ordinary practice had carried me from the spiritual root test to the first layer. My teeth ache at the pattern, because if every layer costs 4 times the last, no lifespan I can picture is going to be enough. I was too naive about this, and some things cannot be rushed. Then I look at the reserve, 50 years still sitting there against my 12, and decide to push one more time anyway. The third layer of chi refinement takes 8 years, 4 times the 2 before it, exactly as advertised. The rest stays in the bank for emergencies. At midnight, the day turns over and the family hands me another year, the way it will every night for as long as the family stands. So the ledger reads 12 years old against 43 in reserve, the third layer of chi refinement. The 5 element scripture parked at 9/10 of beginner. The turtle breath concealment art is finished at perfection. 3 new lines sit beneath them, the spirit rain technique and the golden gyom sword art at nothing, and the catalysis technique at that single stubborn percent. Below all of it sits my legacy, first grade spirit plant farmer, not yet begun. Everyone wears a plus sign, and every plus sign wants years. Morning comes through the window, since whoever carved these immortal caves put windows in them, and the light wakes me. I've been sitting cross-legged all night and my spiritual chi has settled back to normal. I bolt my meal and run for Uncle Wang Sung-tan's door, and he says with some surprise that I am early, then walks me down toward the foot of the mountain. The lower half of the Jangsan mountain range is mostly spirit dry fields, growing spirit beans, spirit medicine, and spirit fruits, while the flat ground below holds the spirit water fields and fish ponds. My uncle's plot sits on the seam between the slope and the flat, planted thick with mulberry trees. They run from 3 to 10 meters tall with broad crowns and heavy leaves, clearly first-grade spirit plants. Their fruit, the mulberry, restores spiritual chi and sells high enough to be one of the family's main incomes. In early spring, the family raises silkworms in those trees, and by summer the silkworms are spinning cocoons while the mulberries flower and set fruit. The harvest staggered so neatly that one grove pays twice. I look out over it and cannot keep the shine out of my eyes. My uncle tells me mulberry trees are forgiving as spirit plants go, that I should practice on them first, study the compendium while I work, and put all 3 spells to use on the grove. Then he hands me the actual jobs, checking the trees for pests, turning the soil, calling down spirit rain to feed them. I am quick and small, and I finish the whole list by midday, so I pull out the compendium and work through it a page at a time. Lifespan is not abundant right now, and anything I push to beginner with my own hands is a year I never have to spend. 7 days go by like that. I have taken in a great deal about spirit plants and still have not reached beginner in the spirit plant farmer legacy itself. The spirit rain technique and the golden gyong sword art I could probably drag to beginner in a month of honest work. In the afternoon, while I am reading in the shade, my uncle asks how my cultivation is coming. I stand and tell him my catalysis technique seems to have reached beginner during practice last night. His eyes go glassy on him. He tells me to show him, in a voice he is holding very carefully flat, clearly hoping the boy in front of him is not lying. I run the spell and thin immature spiritual chi pours into the trunk of a mulberry tree until I am left panting. When I look up, he is staring at me, because beginner in the catalysis technique in 7 days is, by the standards of this profession, monstrous. He took a month himself, and he remembers the number exactly. What outsiders do not know about Wang Songtan is that his chi refinement 3rd layer and his 5 spiritual roots are both a costume. He actually stands at the 9th layer of chi refinement on a dual earth and wood spiritual root. If the clan had ever laid hands on a foundation establishment pill, he would be a foundation establishment great cultivator already. A genius of that grade needed a month, and his 5 spiritual roots nephew needed a week. Either the nephew hid his roots the same way he did, or the nephew has a freak affinity for the catalysis technique. If it is the first, the words that come to him are heavenly spiritual root, and nobody in this district has heard of one for a very long time. Spiritual root testing belongs entirely to the clan chief, so whatever everyone else believes is only what he told them. So my uncle asks, carefully casual, whether he remembers right that it took me half a year to reach the 1st layer of chi refinement. I nod before I think, which is exactly what he wants. That kills the heavenly spiritual root theory, because one sitting idle inside clan territory would breathe in ambient spiritual chi and reach the 1st layer far faster. A child my size could never hide such a thing from every adult around him. Which leaves one explanation, that the boy simply has an extraordinary affinity for the catalysis technique. Having talked himself around the circle, my uncle looks at me with enormous fondness and tells me to come somewhere with him. He does not wait for an answer. He tucks me under his arm like a rolled blanket and runs for the mountain peak, and the wind he makes turns my hair into a bird's nest. He barrels into the clan chief's immortal cave calling for Grandpa Clan Chief and pulls the great door shut behind us. The clan chief opens his eyes with perfect calm, looks us over, and asks whether all this fussing and flapping is what he has spent years teaching. My uncle sails past the scolding and asks him to say plainly whether Wang Nonnun's spiritual root really is a 5 spiritual root. The clan chief understands the question under the question and nods, confirming my roots are exactly what the record says. My uncle then loses his sentence halfway, managing only the catalysis technique, 7 days and something about affinity. The clan chief goes quiet and turns his eyes on me, still hanging under my uncle's arm. I greet him politely as Great Grandpa Clan Chief. He ignores me entirely and starts to laugh, saying good 3 times over, which from him is practically dancing. What 7 days means is that with time the catalysis technique might climb all the way to major achievement in my hands, and even show me the edge of perfection. In a family that lives off its fields, that is worth more than any sword. 100-year spirit medicine catalyzed a few times sheds 40 or 50 years of growth. He is already multiplying that by 10 plants, by 100, and wondering which medicinal pills and heaven and earth treasures might stretch the lifespan of the boy doing it. He is still the clan chief, so he makes me demonstrate. The technique comes out clumsy and it comes out real. And after he has walked through everything I have done these past weeks, he is certain. He asks how many people know, and my uncle looks at me too. I tell them just the 3 of us that I have not had the chance to tell my parents. The clan chief lets out a long breath, produces a yellow talisman, and tells my uncle to drip blood onto it. My uncle does it without hesitating, because that is a 2nd grade oath talisman, blood sworn to seal a secret, and anyone who breaks it eats the backlash of heaven and earth. Then the clan chief warns me that this stays buried, or it will bring calamity down on my head. I ask him, wide-eyed, whether that means I cannot even tell my parents. He says seriously that not even my parents may know, and that I am to keep studying under Uncle Wang Songtan. Once I can use the catalysis technique smoothly, Great-grandpa will set aside a spiritual medicine field of my own. He is not looking at a great-grandson. He is looking at the family's future. I nod hard and leave with my uncle, and behind us I hear him mutter that this kid certainly hides a great deal. He has no idea how right he is. Wind moves across the hillside and the leaves answer it like strings under a hand, and my mood is excellent. Now that the clan chief has seen the careful shape of talent I let him see, I can move openly on a dozen fronts without worrying that my cheat shows through. I go back to the mulberry grove and settle into the quiet tilling and cultivating, and half a month passes that way. My days run between 2 points and nothing else, because ever since Namyo was taken to the Sinong sect, the noise the children used to make had simply stopped. Quiet turns out to suit me. With nothing pulling at my sleeve, I push both the Spirit Rain technique and the Golden Gyeong sword art over the line into beginner. The first grade Spirit Plant Farmer legacy is not far behind. The count stands at 12 years old against 65 in reserve, at the 3rd layer of Chi refinement, with the 5 elements scripture still at 9/10 of beginner. The Turtle Breath concealment art is still perfect, the 3 spells each a single % into beginner, and the legacy weighting at 0. The reserve climbing while I spend is the whole trick of the thing. In the evening I am washing rice, since I have been teaching myself simple cooking to take a little off my parents. I am tipping the spiritual rice into the pot when I glance up and see them both coming home, and my father is leading a small calf on a rope. Waxy yellow coat, horns not yet through, barely half a meter at the shoulder, and clearly newborn. He calls out asking whether I like the gift he and my mother have brought me. I put the rice down and go to the calf, and my hand finds the coarse warm hair of it. My father tells me it is a stubhorn yellow ox, a first-order spirit beast, gentle-tempered and built for defense. A grown one can stand against a cultivator at the 9th layer of chi refinement. He and my mother exchange for it from the family so it can keep me company, carry my loads, and haul me around, and he asks whether I like it. I like it enormously, and not only for the reasons he means, because a stubhorn yellow ox is the perfect animal for a spirit plant farmer, and its innate spell helps with tilling and hauling. I ask how I form a contract, and my mother says none is needed, that a newborn spirit beast of this kind trains easily and listens to whoever treats it well. That only works on the gentle breeds. I take it into the courtyard and start nailing a shed together. My mother calls out that the calf has already been fed and that dinner is for the 3 of us. I set the last board, come in to eat, then go straight back out. It is the 4th mouth in this household, so I tell it its name is Four Joys, and I talk at it until full dark before going in to cultivate. The next morning I leave Four Joys down to the mulberry grove with more pride than the situation strictly justifies. My uncle takes one look and says, smiling in a way I do not care for, that he did not expect my family to exchange for one as well. When I ask what he means, he tells me the family traded a batch of these calves off other households a few days ago, more than 10 of them. He had not expected my parents to spend on one for me. He tells me to take good care of it, since he took one home himself. Four Joys has an honest, slightly stupid face that I find deeply agreeable, and a spirit ox lives close to 100 years, so the 2 of us have a long run ahead. I set Four Joys loose to graze and get to work. The wind rises and the clouds thicken, and my uncle stretches, looks over, and asks whether I want to come down to Jiangsan County with him. I have never once been outside Wang family ground, so my answer takes no thinking. We walk it with Four Joys behind us. Jiangsan County sits against the mountain range, a mortal town under Wang family control, with every administrator in it a mortal surnamed Wang. Having the range at its back makes it prosperous enough that loose cultivators passing through stop to rest. My 2 older siblings, the ones born without spiritual roots, live down there under the care of other family members. We both walk fast and we are inside the county within the hour, where the shouting of the vendors comes at me from every direction at once. Sharp cultivator senses are not always a gift. I ask what business brings him down the mountain, and he says he has come to collect payment on goods he can sign to his shop, then stops in front of one. The sign over it reads Wang Corporation, which is to say it is ours. He explains that anything a clansman does not need can be handed to the family for contribution points or consigned here for spirit stones. The way he says it tells me he has been grinding for years toward a foundation establishment pill. The hope of it is what keeps him moving. A shop assistant is on my uncle the moment we walk in, calling him Grandpa Sangtan and showing him upstairs. That tells me the assistant is Wang family too, and stands lower in seniority than I do. My uncle tells me to wait and look around. Most of what is in here is samples, all aimed at chi refinement cultivators, with talismans outnumbering everything else, which fits a family strong at talismans and thinner everywhere else. Along the shelves I find rows of spirit plant seeds in glass jars, all ordinary spiritual rice, spiritual fruit, and spiritual beans. I say out loud to nobody that I would like something rarer, that even spirit medicine would do. A young girl comes over and tells me the Wang Corporation carries plenty of first-order spirit plant seeds, studying me with open curiosity. She asks whether I belong to the Wang family, and I tell her my generation is Nam. That startles her badly. The Wang family is enormous. Its cultivators and its mortals run on 2 separate seniority ladders, and half the clan has never laid eyes on the other half. She works out where I sit and settles on calling me uncle. Then she offers to walk me through the seeds and mentions that family cultivators get half off everything. Half off. I ask, genuinely thrown, whether family cultivators have to pay at their own family shop, and she laughs and says I must be joking. I let it drop, because my pockets are emptier than my face. If it comes to that, I will go ask my great-grandfather for seeds. My uncle comes down before long and walks me home, buying a load of goods on the way and standing me snacks. A month goes by, and 2 things happen in it. First, 3 of Wang Namyon's cousins each bring a loose cultivator husband into the family, and the whole quiet clan turns festive. Then, before that settles, the clan chief's son dies. He was my grandfather, Wang Zhongbang, an early-stage chi refinement cultivator who kept to himself and hated being disturbed, which is why I never once went to see him. His lifespan simply ran out at 97. The funeral runs 3 days. Cultivators come from all over the district to pay respects, and the wedding cheer is gone. A man can spend 97 years inside a clan and still die a stranger to his own great-grandson. I go dull for a while and barely cultivate. When I come back to myself, the count has climbed to 12 against 96. So I spend 49 years of it in one stroke and drag the catalysis technique up to half of beginner. The talent I chose to show cannot be allowed to stall, and soon enough it has to start paying the family back. I let a little of it slip while working. My uncle is delighted, and the report travels straight up to the clan chief. He keeps his promise. I am given a spirit medicine field of my own, only a little over an acre, which on a second-grade spiritual vein is worth far more than the size suggests. It sits in the upper middle of the Jiangsan mountain range where the soil is rich and the spiritual qi thick, with a small thatched hut against one edge. The plot feels like somewhere a hermit would retire to. Planting first-grade spirit plants on a second-grade vein is a waste, but the Wang family has no second-grade spirit plant farmer, so second-grade spirit medicine cannot be grown here at any scale. First-grade it is, and the clan chief sent enough seed to fill the plot. My spirit plant farmer legacy has not even begun, so I bring my uncle up to walk me through it. The seed is Chongpyong grass, a first-grade spirit plant and the raw material for talisman paper, harvested once a year, high yield and low value, the sort of crop that makes small money quickly. If a stand of Chongpyong grass ever breaks through to second grade, the price goes vertical, since second-grade talisman paper comes from it, but that needs 5 years of growth at the very least. I have the whole entry from the compendium memorized, and under my uncle's eye the first batch goes into the ground. In a year, I hand 100 plants to the family and everything past that is mine. That guaranteed share is the entire business model of a spirit plant farmer, selling whatever the quota does not take and turning it into cultivation resources. After that, my life becomes a straight line between the mulberry grove, the spirit medicine field, and my immortal cave, with 4 joys plodding behind me. Then Wang Namyan turns up in a close-cut outfit that makes her look ready for a fight, saying she heard I had taken up the trade and came to see for herself. She walks the plot, lingering over the newly sprouted Xiangpyong grass, and remarks with some envy that the clan chief must be very fond of me to hand over a whole separate field. I let that pass. A field cannot be hidden inside a clan this size, and I never intended to hide it, and there are already rumors that the clan chief is spoiling his own great-grandson. Nobody has bothered to correct them, which suits me perfectly. I ask instead where everyone has been. She says they have all been shut in at home cultivating, that she was let out only because she finally broke through, and that the rest will not surface for a while. Then she pulls out a half-eaten peach pit and hands it over, telling me to prove the trade and grow a spirit peach tree out of it. The pit still has real vitality in it. When I ask where it came from, she says her father ran into an unknown spirit peach deep in the mountains on a mission. He fought off a few demon monkeys and brought home a handful of fruit after the tree was destroyed. She adds that the peach tastes wonderful and helps early-stage qi refinement cultivators break through, and her face goes red, which answers how she made her own breakthrough. I tell her up front that I will try and cannot promise anything, since I am barely a beginner. From the look of the pit and her description, this is a first-grade honey peach. It is one of the most sought-after first-grade spirit plants there is, because it pushes early-stage qi refinement cultivators through a bottleneck. It also takes 5 years minimum from seed to fruit, ripens once a year after that, and yields only 12 to 16 spirit peaches per tree. She says not to worry, that the other pits went into the family treasury, and I can trade for one if I need to, and that she saved this one for me. I thank her, we talk a while, and she goes. I sprout the pit and put it in the corner of the field, in a spot I picked out days ago. Then I call 4 joys over to haul water, because my spirit rain technique is nowhere near good enough yet, and the field drinks. 2 buckets go onto the ox's back every trip. It has had a hard young life entirely on account of its useless master, and it lows at me about it. Cooking smoke, and dinner again, and I eat like a starving man. My mother asks whether I want to come along on a visit to the Jew family, since it is her maiden house, and she owes it a return every so often. I shake my head. I used to go every time, but ever since my cheat woke up, I have decided not to leave Wang family ground in the near term. The Jew family is not far, though. Not far is not the same as safe. She does not push, only tells me to look after myself. Reminds me where the spirit rice is kept, and promises they will be quick. Then she leaves me a stack of talismans she refined recently, mostly auxiliary work, swift talismans and cleansing talismans, and a yellow turban warrior talisman. I hand the swift talisman back, since the road is theirs and not mine, and keep the rest. They leave the next morning and I keep to my routine. The first day of the empty cave, I clean the place top to bottom until it is genuinely comfortable. Then I move down to the thatched hut at the spirit field to sleep in the thicker spiritual qi. The peach pit sprouts. I settle it into the soil and I keep casting the catalysis technique over it. Then my uncle comes hunting for me and calls me out to collect spirit fertilizer. He's been leaving me to run the cheongpyeong grass alone as I get steadier, so these days we mostly only meet when I come down to the mulberry grove. I come out with 4 joys and admit I do not know what spirit fertilizer is. He drags me along by the arm and explains on the move. Spirit fields need feeding, and the manure from the family's cultivators and spirit beasts does not cover it, so every year the family buys a share of spirit fertilizer off other households. The amount depends on how many spirit fields the family has planted, and hauling it out to those fields is the farmer's own problem, which is what I am for. I tell 4 joys there is work again, and the ox answers. The storage yard is stacked with the stuff, hard lumps that look like ordinary dirt and smell of nothing. My uncle says 1 basket covers an acre, points me at the baskets, and tells me to crush the lumps to powder before spreading them, and to water the ground thoroughly at the same time. I take 2 bamboo baskets, half fill each, and hang them off 4 joys. On the walk back I get a proper look at it. Spirit fertilizer appears to start as the droppings of certain demon beasts before going through a sequence of treatments that is apparently a cultivation art in its own right. At the field I do exactly as told. Crush the lot, scatter it evenly, and then the ox and I start the water carrying again. It takes 2 full days to finish. The result shows almost at once, the cheongpyeong grass standing greener and stronger, and either I am imagining things, or the fertilizer has trimmed a little off its growing time as well. The honey peach, which gets more attention from me than the whole rest of the plot combined, has pushed its first shoots up into tender green leaves. A month has passed since the field became mine. The saplings stand about a palm high, and my own daily cultivation has moved too. 12 years old against 85 in reserve. Still the 3rd layer of chi refinement. The 5 elements scripture nudged to 91% of beginner. The turtle breath concealment art stays perfect, with the spirit rain technique at 3% and the golden gyeong sword art at 2%. The catalysis technique sits squarely at half of beginner, and the legacy is finally on the board at 2%. Every point of that came from ordinary practice rather than spending, which is slow, and costs me nothing. My parents come home in the evening after more than 10 days away, and I have missed them more than I expected. My mother's cooking tastes better for the absence. Once they have run the last few weeks out of me, they hand over a storage pouch, palm-sized, made to hang at the waist. It holds about a cubic meter and answers to spiritual chi whenever a cultivator reaches into it. It is the lowest grade there is, and both of them carry 1, which does not mean it was cheap. I drip blood to bind it, and inside find 7 bottles of medicinal pills. 3 bottles are yellow sprout pills, a dozen each, a common pill that speeds cultivation for early stage chi refinement. The other 4 are serving spirit pills, 8 each, for feeding a spirit beast, raising the closest between beast and master, and shaving a little off the beast's growing time. My father explains that they bought the storage pouch and the yellow sprout pills at a market nearby, where prices run cheaper. The serving spirit pills came from my maternal grandparents, who refined them once they heard I had 4 joys. That lands harder than I let show. My mother's birth house, the Jew family, is no weaker than ours, and it is built on beast taming. The stubhorn yellow ox calf and the spirit fertilizer the family bought recently both came out of Jew family stock. My grandparents are first-grade alchemists who make their living refining pills for their own clan. The serving spirit pills could not have arrived at a better moment, and 4 joys is a very lucky ox. The yellow sprout pills are wasted on me at the 3rd layer, but refusing them would throw my parents' effort back in their faces. The pouch and pills together must have cost most of the spirit stones they have managed to put by. So I take all of it, talk a while, then go out to the ox. I scratch 4 joys between the ears and pull out a serving spirit pill, and the smell of it alone makes the calf shove at my hands. I tell it to settle and feed the pill into its mouth. Nothing visible happens, which is expected, since these are meant to be taken over a long stretch. At night I start spending again. 1 year lifts the 5 element scripture out of beginner and 6% into proficient. 46 more take the catalysis technique the rest of the way through beginner and onto the first step of proficient. That second number stops me, because the same half tier cost 49 years last time, and by every rule I have worked out it should have cost more, not less. Going back over the panel, the only thing that has changed underneath everything else is the 5 element scripture. It is my main cultivation technique, and a main technique works like a core, the base that moves spiritual chi through the body and fires every spell I own. A deeper 5-element scripture, therefore, makes every other technique cheaper to raise. That is the only explanation I can build, and I have been treating the most common book in the family library as furniture. 35 years in reserve is too thin to run the experiment properly, so the test waits. The catalysis technique will not, so I slip back up to the medicinal field and cast it. The cheongpyeong grass that was sitting perfectly still comes alive, root and stem and leaf thickening at once. Late autumn, and the air turns cool. Inside the clan-protecting formation, the Wang family territory stays green, and the only thing marking the season is the crop. Spirit rice has gone gold with the ears hanging heavy, and spirit fruits are turning red and yellow across the whole slope. I am called down to the foot of the mountain to help with the harvest and the spirit fish, and most of the other children are let out of their caves for it too. The rice and the fruit do not need us, since a handful of spirit plant farmers throw a few spells, and everything goes into storage pouches and straight to the family. Our job is the spirit loaches. The patties have been drained, and the mud lies open with no sign of a loach anywhere. Spells work badly on anything buried in mud, and the family wants them alive. So it comes down to hands. An elder tells us to work over every scrap of mud and miss nothing. Then adds that every one of us gets to keep 100 of the fattest. That gets the whole pack moving. We tie bamboo cages at our waists, roll our trousers up, and go into the mud in a line, sweeping it like a search party. The adults laugh at the edge and tell each other what they used to get away with at our age. I turn the mud over with the golden gyong sword art and drop loaches into my cage, and all around me my cousins run their own small spells with real efficiency. One patty gets plowed through and we move to the next, and children apparently do not tire. So the whole field is done inside a day. Most of the catch goes to the family and the rest is handed out. 2 cages of 50 apiece, and I count mine and find the number exact. We carry them home to show our parents like a pack of hunters. The loaches are thumb-sized and never stop wriggling, and fat ones sell for about 5 spirit sands each. My parents make the right noises, tip the catch into a jar, then gut a few and throw them into a pan over a hard flame, and dinner is superb. The year ends. This world has no new year, but the Wang family keeps its own celebration for the turning, a night to weigh what the year cost and say out loud what everyone wants from the next. More than 100 clansmen crowd in for spirit foods, while the younger generation take turns showing off and getting applause. I sit low and stay put, since I am a spirit plant farmer with no combat skill and no interest in embarrassing myself in front of the entire clan. What I do instead is watch, because a night like this is the only time this many Wang family cultivators stand in one room. Most of them are scattered the rest of the year, running shops outside or holding mortal towns. I can read realms well enough now to read the room, and the room is not encouraging. 4 generations of cultivators hold the family up: Myung, Jung, Song, and Nam. The Myung generation is down to clan chief Wang Myunggae and elder Wang Myunghui. My grandfather's Zhang generation still has 6 or 7, all at the 8th or 9th layer of chi refinement and all fading, with no hope left of foundation establishment. My parents' Song generation carries the weight, mostly between the 3rd and 7th layers, and a handful may yet reach the threshold, the 9th layer before 60. Whether the family can ever put a foundation establishment pill into their hands is another question. My own Nam generation is nobody older than their early 20s, and nobody past the 4th layer, and given the spiritual roots we were born with, our odds are just as poor. My immortality is chained to all of this. A family develops on the strength of its people, and I am looking at a room short on numbers and short on talent both. When I finally have a voice in how this clan is run, the first thing I push for is more children, because volume is the only reliable way to buy a genius. I let it go and go back to the food. Nearby, Uncle Wang Sungten's wife asks my mother whether she has heard that the Zhu family clan chief's spirit water rhinoceros broke through to foundation establishment. My mother says she has, that it happened a while ago and her own parents mentioned it. Another cousin sighs that by that count the Zhu family now holds 1 foundation establishment cultivator and 2 foundation establishment spirit beasts. That puts them past both the Wang family and the Yu family in a single step, second only to the Shinong sect. The 3 foundation establishment houses have circled each other for generations without settling on friend or enemy, trading and marrying one year and undercutting each other the next. 3 foundation establishment great cultivators in one house. I hope every adult in this room felt that. Later at home, I asked my mother whether the spirit wine at the celebration was brewed by the family, because I drank a cup and felt my realm push at its own ceiling. She says the family keeps a first-grade brewer who turns some of the spirit rice and spirit fruits into wine every year for the clan. The spirit rice wine is called Beauty's Drunk and it heals, and the spirit fruit wine is called 100 Brews and it steadies the meridians and helps cultivation. Both run in tiny quantities, so the 1 cup of 100 Brews at the celebration is the only free one anybody gets, and buying more costs contribution points at a punishing rate. When I ask whether the family holds the brewer legacy, she shakes her head. The brewer is my 3rd cousin's husband, married in as a live-in son-in-law, and he has never handed the legacy over. The family supports him generously because of the skill, to the point that his children, none of whom have spiritual roots, carry his surname instead of Wang. He did promise that any descendant of the family who wants to learn brewing from him may. I ask whether anyone has, and my mother says his daughter, my cousin Wang Namyeon, which makes sense, since a daughter learning her father's trade is the most ordinary arrangement there is. My mother smiles and asks whether I want to learn it too, then advises against it, saying a boy who chases too many crafts masters none of them, so the wine will have to be schemed for. New Year's first day, and enough clansmen are still around that my parents go making the rounds of the elders' houses. I take 4 joys back up to the spirit medicine field instead. The Chongpyong grass should be ready to cut in another 6 months or so. 13 years old now, 70 in reserve, enough saved to be worth spending, and that theory about the 5 elements scripture still unresolved. So I run the experiment. 19 years go into it before the 5 elements scripture climbs out of proficient and into minor achievement, and my realm breaks through with it, into the 4th layer of chi refinement. I already knew the cost multiplies as proficiency climbs. What I did not expect was the realm moving on its own, and then I catch myself, because a breakthrough in one's main cultivation technique is supposed to drag the realm up behind it. Every cultivator alive knows that. I have been so busy buying things that I forgot how cultivating actually works. I will not make a mistake that basic twice. Every percent of the catalysis technique cost a year while it sat in beginner, and at proficient the price is roughly doubled to 2 years a point. I spend 20 years anyway and take it to 11% of proficient. The 5 elements scripture breakthrough did help the other techniques along exactly as I guessed. Though the saving is modest, it compounds, so I put the 5 elements scripture at the front of the queue from here on. Which raises a better question whether a genuinely superior main technique would save more still. My pockets are empty and I have no way to get hold of one, so the question keeps. 13 years old with 31 left in reserve. The 4th layer of chi refinement, the 5 elements scripture 1% into minor achievement. The turtle breath concealment art stays perfect. The spirit rain technique 4% into beginner. The golden Gyeong sword art 3. The catalysis technique is 11% into proficient. And the legacy at 3. On the peak of the Wang family mountain, Wang Yonggae sets a puppet down in his own seat, and his aura vanishes out of the room. He announces his seclusion publicly, then leaves on his flying sword. Down in the library, Elder Wang Myunghui opens his clouded eyes and sends word that he will hold the family, and that the clan chief should go quickly, come back quickly, and above all succeed. Deep underground, an old woman rises and goes after him, keeping a careful distance. I am at the spirit field being bored at 4 joys when the news reaches me. The first piece is that the clan chief has abruptly gone into seclusion, which is such ordinary cultivator behavior that nobody blinks. The second is that the family is putting together a demon beast hunting team, and a great many adults are going, my father among them. The point is to stock the family's demon beast meat, bring in spirit stones, and put some steel into the clansmen who go. The terms are generous, a fixed allotment of spirit stones plus a cut of whatever the team brings down. Work is found for anyone who comes home injured or crippled, and the family raises the children of anyone who does not come home at all. That last clause is not comforting. The team hunts the Cheongpung mountain range, well over 1,000 miles from our own Jangsan mountain range, and thick with demon beasts. It is the nearest demon beast range to human territory, which makes it a paradise for adventurers, since spirit plants and spirit medicine come out of it as often as pelts. When I get back that evening, my mother tells me my father has already gone with them, and I lose the thread of the conversation for a moment. She tells me not to worry, that he keeps life-saving methods nobody knows about, and that she loaded him with talismans besides. I nod and let her have it, because she is saying it for my benefit and we both know it. When I ask how long, she says 4 or 5 months at the least and a year at the worst. They carried enough storage pouches that they will not turn around until everyone is full. I stop asking because it is decided. I cultivate through the night and go down to the mulberry grove the next morning before the dew burns off. The grove is green even in winter, and my uncle is not in it. And when I ask around, it turns out Wang Sung Tan signed onto the hunting team as well. The family that was crowded yesterday is thin today. The visitors gone back to their posts, leaving children and a handful of clansmen who never leave. My father is a sword cultivator whose realm is modest but who can fight. My uncle is a spirit plant farmer with a realm so low it is painful to look at. And he went anyway. The family's notice arrives quickly. On top of the mulberry grove, a large stretch of the spiritual paddy fields at the foot of the mountain is handed to me temporarily, framed as a chance to shoulder more responsibility. I do want to improve. I am also fairly sure this is going to hurt. Spirit rice is an easy crop with a complete legacy behind it, but that stretch used to be worked by several spirit plant farmers together, and now it is mine alone, which leaves exactly one option, which is to do it. I call 4 joys to work and ask whether it still has not learned its innate plowing spell, whether a half-year-old calf might consider looking inward for the reason. The ox shakes its head at me and lets itself be hitched to the plow. I am hardly in a position to lecture, since my own golden Gyeong sword art is nowhere near proficient. I can just about manage weeding with it, but pests and plowing both go faster by hand. So here I am, a cultivator, walking behind an ox, and I only just turned 13. Fortunately, the family notices what it has done to me and sends several adult cultivators down to take the heavy labor off me and the ox. They lay base fertilizer with the control object spell while the sword cultivators drive flying swords through the soil and turn the stretch over. After that, I catalyze the spirit rice seed and raise the seedlings myself. Spirit rice is a once-a-year crop with a heavy yield, and the family supplies the seed, so a harvest off ground this size could pay very well. My cousins wander down to help now and then, which makes plain days better than plain. Spring arrives on my cheek before I notice it coming. The spirit rice seedlings stand in neat rows across the spirit water fields, tipping with the breeze. Once their roots take hold, the spirit loach fry can go in with them, which is knowledge the family bought with years of trial and now belongs to me too. The fry come out of the family's own spirit fish pond nearby, which also holds several other spirit fish, all serious income. Up in the grove, the mulberry leaves have turned over into tender green and run full of juice, which makes it the season for spring silkworms. My cousin Wang Song-su handles that. She is the granddaughter of the clan chief's dead sister Wang Myongju and the only spirit insect cultivator the family has, frighteningly good at controlling what she keeps. Every year she raises the spring silkworms in the mulberry trees, breeds them, and reels the silk off the cocoons herself. Spirit silkworm silk is first-rate material for artifact refining, so the family holds it back for clansmen to trade against rather than selling it. I watch her work with the wide-eyed face of a curious child, because spirit insect cultivators are rare enough that most cultivators never meet one. She smiles and asks whether I am interested. She reads as the fourth stage of chi refinement, and she does not feel like it. Then she barks at something to get back and stop frightening her nephew, and a palm-sized black armor king bug comes crawling off her shoulder and down into her spirit beast pouch. My eyes go wide on their own and my whole body shivers, and that reaction is not mine. It is older and lower than mine. She does not explain, only asks whether I want to become a spirit insect cultivator. I nod and then shake my head and tell her I have not even finished understanding the spirit plant farmer trade, so the insects can wait for another conversation. She takes that as the bug having spooked me, which is close enough. I ask what kind of creature the black armor king bug is, and carefully do not ask what realm it holds. She says it is a black armor king bug and that she bought it off a market stall while out on a mission. Then she draws the spirit beast pouch tight so nothing else can climb out. I swallow hard, invent an errand, and go. Sitting against Fourjoys where the ox lies at the edge of the spirit water field, I keep catching movement overhead. Family members are leaving on spirit boats, and more of them going out by road on ox carts. It takes me a moment to place it. It is the third month when the family tests for spiritual roots. And a year ago, that same test is the only reason I am still living on this mountain. The Wang family is spread wide, so it makes sense to send out more cultivators than usual. I wonder how many lucky ones turn up this year. Lucky twice over. Once for the qualification to cultivate at all, and once for being born into a clan that is decent to its own. While every eye in the family is on the road, an old man slips quietly back onto the mountain peak. He puts the puppet away in his immortal cave, lets out a long breath, then sits on his futon and sends word to the library pavilion. Wang Myonghui's mouth curls at the message. He shuts the library, works his way around the clansmen still about, goes up to the clan chief's immortal cave, activates the formation, and asks how it went. Two people are waiting inside. One is the clan chief, and the other is an old woman any older clansman would recognize as Wang Myongju, the clan chief's sister, dead these many years. Wang Myongge says with a knowing smile that they bought one at auction and Myongju took another off somebody on the road home. She is not amused and tells him she nearly lost her old life over that foundation establishment pill. The two of them had gone to an auction the Sinong sect ran, 10 foundation establishment pills on the block. Every family and every peak chi refinement loose cultivator in the district bidding. Everything the Wang family has saved over decades was barely enough to carry one lot. Then rogue cultivators trailed them out of the market. A foundation establishment great cultivator does not fear that sort of company, so the clan chief played weak, drew the whole pack into open wilderness, ambushed them, and stripped the bodies for a tidy profit. Wang Myongju had the worst trip. Riding hidden behind the pill as its last line of defense, she ran into 3 foundation establishment cultivators one after another, crippled one, killed one, and frightened the third off. That is a remarkable record by any measure. The one she killed took his revenge on the way out, and she is badly hurt. The clan chief tells her to go heal, and says he will run to the Shenong sect in a few days for grade 2 healing medicinal pills. He would not have come home without her. She snorts and goes down to the secret chamber underground. Wang Myonghui asks whether second sister is truly alright, and the clan chief waves it off, saying her foundation is untouched, and asking whether his second sister would be that calm otherwise. Then he produces 3 foundation establishment pills. Wang Myonghui's eyes go wide, and he asks where the third came from, since one was bought and one was taken. The clan chief says the Shenong sect extended it on credit, and his brother refuses outright to believe him. The Shenong sect is famously tight-fisted about foundation establishment pills, and even its own affiliated families can only get them at auction. The clan chief insists it is true. The Spirit Treasure Mystic Realm is about to open inside Nang Nang Mountain. The Shenong sect wants the Wang family to send at least 5 late-stage Qi refinement cultivators in to hunt the main materials for refining Foundation establishment pills. If the materials come out, each pill costs 3,000 spirit stones and he has already paid it. If they do not, the Wang family owes another 8,000. Inside the secret realm, the sect takes no responsibility for whether Wang family cultivators live or die, and half of any other spirit medicine gathered goes to the sect. Wang Mianghui says the Shenong sect has thought this through beautifully. An ordinary grade 2 medicinal pill runs to a few tens of spirit stones, steep when daily goods trade in spirit sand, and steep because grade 2 spirit medicine is hard to find. The Foundation establishment pill is a different animal, since nobody advances without one, and the going price starts around 5,000 spirit stones and gets talked up to 8 or 9,000 at auction. Two things hold that price up. The main materials only come out of the Spirit Treasure Mystic Realm. Every cultivator who can refine the pill sits inside a golden core sect, so the sects own the market and harvest everyone beneath them. However, the arithmetic is run. The Shenong sect cannot lose, because either the Wang family hands over materials, or the Wang family hands over several thousand spirit stones. The clan chief agrees that they are being fleeced, and says they will take it anyway, then lays out 5 more tokens. Those are the entries to the Spirit Treasure Mystic Realm, and he means his brother to lead the family's people in personally, since only Qi refinement stage cultivators can pass the gate. The Wang family has never had the chance to go inside before. This time he says, and lets the sentence hang, and a map unrolls in his hand with the whole secret realm drawn across it. Wang Mianghui takes the tokens and the map. He remarks that he never expected a wastrel who failed to reach Foundation establishment and just kept stacking layers of Qi refinement to finally be of use. As the clan chief's younger brother, he swallowed 2 Foundation establishment pills in his life and neither succeeded nor failed with them. And what he got instead was the 21st layer of Qi refinement. The clan chief pats him and tells him he is nobody's waste. The other 4 will come find him over the next few days, and then they prepare and leave, with a stop at the Shenong sect first for Second Sister's grade 2 healing medicinal pills. As for which of them walks out with the 3 Foundation establishment pills, that depends entirely on how those 4 perform inside the Spirit Treasure Mystic Realm. The door is barred and the lamp is out, and I settle into my favorite ritual, quietly selling off the far end of my own life. 13 years old with 92 years still banked, which is enough for a real push if I do not lose my head. I feed the years into the 5 element scripture, and the technique climbs to major achievement between one breath and the next, 40 years later. My realm rides the surge to the peak of the 5th layer of Qi refinement, close enough to the 6th to feel the wall thinning. When the panel settles, I am 13 with 52 years left. The 5 elements scripture a hair past major achievement. The turtle breath concealment art at perfection as always. Under those, the spirit rain technique and the golden young sword art sit a few steps into beginner. The catalysis technique is a 10th of the way through proficient, and the first grade spirit plant farmer legacy has only just cracked open. I stop there and leave the rest banked, because something bigger will want it later, and the scripture is 1 step from perfection anyway. The other 3 grow on their own while I practice them daily, honestly and painfully slowly, and that is fine. The 5 elements scripture gets smoother every run, which means longer duration on every spell and more strength in my hands out in the fields. Slow is exactly the story I want told about me. Sunlight burns off the dark and a new day starts. I walk my territory once, find nothing out of place, then run down to the homes of the few boys my age. Every one of them is being drilled by his family and has no time to go anywhere. Disappointed, I take 4 joys back to the medicinal field and return to the Cheongpyeong grass. He grazes near me pretending to mind his own business, and the moment he decides I am not looking, his tongue comes out for a leaf. A pebble snaps against that pink tongue before it closes, and he yanks it back so fast he nearly sits down. I tell him flatly that touching these spirit plants without permission will get him fixed. Then he can grow up and stand in a field of cows with nothing to offer any of them. He covers himself with his tail. He is young, but a tame spirit beast is never stupid, and he understands far more than he lets on. He lows at me, and the meaning is plain, that where the grass is, he will be, and if the grass dies, he cannot exactly die with it. The spirit plants get bigger and I get busier, until the spirit treasure flying boat crosses the sky again, and I know this year's spiritual root testing is finished. News moves fast in a family with this few cultivators in it, and within a day everyone has the whole story in a handful of sentences. 3 12-year-olds came back, one with 3 spiritual roots, one with 4, one with 5, and all 3 have been entered into the name generation alongside me. Their parents are ordinary people with no cultivator relatives anywhere close. The family has put the 3 of them in one immortal cave and assigned elders to teach them until they can stand alone. Sitting with that, I feel my own luck all over again. Both my parents cultivate and can help me with my life in my realm, and next to 3 children with nobody at all, I am spoiled rotten. I go up to say hello, since we are the same age and will be holding this family together in 20 years. From a distance, I can see the 3 of them standing outside their immortal cave, stiff as fence posts. Dropped alone onto a strange mountain inside a cultivation world they know only from stories, curiosity runs out fast and fear fills the gap. My mouth curls and I walk over with 4 joys at my shoulder. I ask whether they are the 3 who tested positive for spiritual roots this year, and I make sure the smile reaches my eyes. 2 boys and a girl turn and find a boy their own age with a yellow calf ambling behind him, and the calf confuses them most of all. I tell them my name is Wang Namnam, that I am their cousin, that I tested a year ago, and that I farm spirit plants now. The girl has a pretty face on a body far too thin for it, and she steadies herself enough to say she is Wang Namwan of Noksan City. The boy beside her gives his name as Wang Namjun of Seosa City, and the last one is Wang Namwi of Yuyu City. All 3 names were handed to them this morning, and whatever they were called before has already been thrown away. Up close, all 3 of them are bones and borrowed clothes. I ask whether they have eaten, then pull out the spirit rice I have carried since I stopped going home at noon. Their eyes go straight to my storage pouch with naked envy. Then the smell of the rice reaches them and the pouch stops existing. 3 throats swallow at once and I have to work not to laugh. I push the rice into their hands and tell them to eat, because the family will feed them soon enough, but soon enough is not now. They thank me in a scramble and then demolish it. They have been on the road for days, jolted and tired and sleeping badly, and hungry children have no defenses at all. When the last grain is gone, they burp and look back at me, so I tell them to ask whatever they want, since we are family. Wang Namwan asks first, worried about what happens to her people now. That one I know, because every parent who produces a child with spiritual roots gets moved down to Jangsang County, brothers and sisters included. I tell them Jangsang County sits under the Wang family's protection, that nobody there goes hungry or unguarded, and that they can walk down and visit whenever they like. All 3 of them come loose at the shoulders. Seeing their parents again is apparently worth more than every spirit stone on the mountain. Wang Namjun wants to know which town I come from, and I tell him both my parents are cultivators and that I was born and raised inside the Wang family. The envy lands a second time. Wang Namwi asks whether I have real brothers and sisters, and I point down the mountain and tell him one of each, both living in Jangsan County. We talk until the 4 of us stop feeling like strangers, and only when a family elder arrives with their evening food do I get up. I give them my address on the way out and tell them to come find me the moment anything goes wrong. My stomach reminds me on the walk back that I talked straight through my own dinner, and the light has already gone orange over the ridge. Then a piece of news drifts out of somebody else's conversation and stops me flat. The Spirit Treasure Mystic Realm is about to open. With the spiritual root testing over, April has arrived and the spirit rice seedlings have been in the paddies almost a month, roots gripping the mud. A whole shoal of spirit loach fry goes into the water and vanishes out of sight in a heartbeat. Spring sowing buys the autumn harvest, and standing over those loach I cannot keep the grin off my face. Wang Namwan and the other 2 come down whenever the elders are not drilling them, and the 4 of us wear the strangest off each other fast. They watch me work the spirit rice with open admiration on their faces. Wang Namjun asks whether they could become spirit plant farmers too, since this is the first cultivation art he has ever seen up close. I tell him he can, but only after exchanging for the spirit plant husbandry basic compendium inside the family. Even among relatives, a legacy is not something anyone hands over on a whim. If one person exchanged for a cultivation technique and then the whole family took turns copying it, the rules would be worth nothing within a generation. I add that they have only just started, that none of them has even gotten chi into the body yet, so this is a question for later. There is time, plenty of it, and once they reach the 3rd layer of chi refinement they can pick a direction that actually suits them. The 3 of them nod along with the expression of people who understand nothing and are certain I am right. I smile a little awkwardly, because my habit of lecturing does not care what body I am wearing. Wang Namwi asks me what a secret realm is, eyes full of confusion. The aunt teaching them the cultivation technique was talking with other family members, and the 3 of them caught something about a spirit treasure mystic realm opening. I know that already, since my mother mentioned over dinner that the Spirit Treasure Mystic Realm on Nang Nang Mountain has opened, and the Wang family has sent cultivators. It is a reasonably famous secret realm in this region. Its opening times are not fixed, and 3 golden core sects control access to it. The Wang family has never once been qualified to go in. The main ingredients for refining foundation establishment pills grow inside, and things at that level never come within reach of a cultivation family like ours. This time is different, since the 3 golden core sects have summoned chi refinement cultivators from outside their own ranks to compete for it. I explain that a secret realm is a separate small world sealed off from everything outside, and that with nothing to disturb them, spirit medicine and spirit plants grow to full potential. Some of them open a passage to the outside now and then, and cultivators go in and take whatever they can carry. The three of them light up with the pleasure of knowing something new. Then the elders call them back for cultivation, and I stand there with four joys, looking up at the sky. At dinner, I ask my mother whether there is any word from my father's side. She says calmly that family members brought back a load of demon beast meat a few days ago, and that when she asked, everyone was doing well. I push for more, and she just shakes her head, so I let it go. The days run hot, and the end of April arrives. I am pulling weeds when a voice drops straight into my head and tells the little fellow to come to the clan chief's immortal cave. I know that voice. It is abrupt, but there is nothing to think about, so I climb onto Four Joys and head for the peak. After nearly a year of growth, he can carry me at a hard run without complaint, which has quietly made him my transportation. One boy and one ox reach the mountaintop, and I go into the clan chief's immortal cave alone. I ask whether he did not go to Nang Nang Mountain, since plenty of people inside the family know about it, even if outsiders never heard. He tells me the matter there is settled, and he is beaming so hard he might as well be announcing it with a banner. Then he asks how my catalysis technique is coming along, which is the real reason I am standing here. I show him the proficient stage of it directly, and every wrinkle on his face spreads into a grin. From the first layer of chi refinement last September to this April is nearly 8 months. Bringing the catalysis technique to proficient in that span is not something a 5 spiritual roots child can do. He praises me twice, says the spirit fields under my care are well managed, then asks how much of the spirit plant farmer legacy I have learned. I tell him I have barely gotten a foot over the threshold, and my panel agrees, the first grade spirit plant farmer legacy sitting at a 10th of beginner. That is not modesty. The first grade spirit plant farmer legacy alone holds hundreds of methods for planting, grafting, and breeding first tier spirit plants. So far I have only learned spirit rice seedlings, chungkyung grass, and a dozen others. None of it is memorization either, because without hands in the dirt the whole compendium is empty talk. Without my cheat I would not dare hope to see minor achievement in one lifetime. The clan chief smiles, thoroughly satisfied with my modesty, since as far as he can see the spirit rice and the cheongpyeong grass are thriving. He says I am still very young and have worked hard, and that to reward my contribution he is giving me a cultivation technique to replace the 5 elements scripture. I feel embarrassed since I cannot point to a single real contribution, but I take it anyway because refusing something free is its own kind of stupidity. The name lands first, the Gomak Bangchun Sutra, a dead tree meeting spring, and I am startled by how grand it sounds. It has the flavor of something that should be carved above a gate. I thank him before I have even looked inside it. He tells me the catalysis technique was pulled out of the Gomak Bangchun Sutra long ago, then folded into the Spirit Plant Husbandry Basic Compendium. That is why he exchanged for the legacy bamboo slip from the Shinong sect. It carries enough for me to cultivate on my own. His reasoning is that a boy with an affinity for the catalysis technique should have the same affinity for its parent. He says my speed will not be slow, and he says it proudly. He paid a considerable price for it because the Shinong sect does not part with such things gently. I am genuinely grateful because if the catalysis technique really was carved off this sutra, then the sutra itself must be a monster. The perfection stage of the catalysis technique is already called a divine skill among spirit plant farmers, and every farmer alive wants it. He hands the thing over, sends me off, and calls in several other family members behind me. On the way down the mountain, I pass the scripture pavilion and see it open again, so I call out a greeting as I go by. Back at the house beside the spirit fields, I finally open the legacy bamboo slip, which is nothing like the books in the scripture pavilion. A book has to be studied and cultivated line by line before a cultivator gets anywhere. A legacy bamboo slip only needs to touch the forehead, and the threshold opens instantly, which is exactly why the slips are hard to make and almost never circulate. I press it to my forehead, and information floods in until the Gomak Bangchun Sutra is simply mine. What the clan chief gave me is only the first layer, enough to carry me to the 9th layer of chi refinement. The later layers are missing, presumably still sitting with the Shinong sect. Improve the meridians, repair oneself, hasten the growth of all things. I recite it silently, and each line means something concrete. Improving the meridians raises a cultivator's internal chi and spiritual chi reserves, and makes the meridians tougher and slower to tear. Repairing oneself mends internal injuries, external injuries, and damage to the soul, which is a life-saving art in a world like this one. Hastening the growth of all things is the catalysis technique with the ceiling ripped off, doubling its effect while consuming 4 times the spiritual chi. At the perfection stage, the hastening runs at full speed, and with spiritual chi in the body, spirit plants can be pushed without pause. The first layer at perfection only does that for first-tier spirit plants, and anything above that drops back to plain catalysis. The second layer at perfection would cover second-tier spirit plants and everything below, and the pattern climbs from there, which is frankly obscene. The drawbacks arrive right behind it. Only a cultivator with 5 spiritual roots can practice the Gomak Bongchen Sutra at all, and its cultivation speed is glacial. Between the worst aptitude alive and the slowest technique ever written, no one since the records began has taken a single layer to perfection except its author. Nobody except the man who wrote it, and a boy who pays in years. The change lands and my whole body goes light. Spiritual chi pours in and scours my meridians from the inside, and my pores start pushing out something with a smell that would clear a room. The cleansing talisman my mother gave me handles that, and then the circulation runs smooth and easy. My panel has moved in ways that make me sit down and look twice. 13 years old with 112 years banked, sitting at the 6th layer of chi refinement. The first layer of the Gomak Bongchen Sutra reads 7% proficiency. The turtle breath concealment art still at perfection. The spirit rain technique and the golden gyong sword arc have crept to a 5th a beginner each, and the first grade spirit plant farmer legacy has passed to 10th. The 5 element scripture is simply gone, replaced, and the catalysis technique has been swallowed into the sutra along with it. Both vanished techniques seem to have fused into the new one, and all that bought was 7%, which tells me how far above the 5 element scripture this sits. My realm broke into the 6th layer on the way through, which finally drags me out of the beginner ranks. Best of all, the hastening now runs at 40%, the equal of major achievement on the old catalysis technique. The consumption is 4 times what it was, and I do not care in the slightest. Then I try it on the Cheongpyeong grass, and the spiritual chi drains out of me like a cracked jar. I underestimated it badly, and I end up wiping sweat with only a third of the field pushed. And even that third fell short of the full effect. The honey peach tree in the corner never gets touched at all. This is the first time I understand what spirit stones are actually for, and of course I own none. It does not matter much. 1 push a day for a few days will land the field where I want it, so I settle into a rhythm of emptying and refilling. The Cheongpyeong grass thickens visibly, emerald leaves rolling in the wind, while 4Joy stands beside it drooling and not daring to move. The honey peach tree comes along too, half my height now, leaves lush, no sign of a flower yet. What I do not know is that the clan chief has been watching all along, and when the Cheongpyeong grass nears maturity, he comes down himself. He counts the days off on his fingers and finds the growth cycle cut by a full 40%, and something behind his eyes shifts. He mutters that our little one must have a deeper affinity for the Gomak Bongchen Sutra. Otherwise, the cultivation could not run this fast. I stand there respectfully with no idea what conclusion he has just reached about me. He thinks for a while, then tells me he did not expect me to grow this quickly and that he is changing his arrangements. From today, I no longer handle the Cheongpyeong grass here, or the spirit rice and mulberry trees at the foot of the mountain. He is giving me a different spirit field, and the income from those 3 fields will still be paid to me exactly as before. I do not argue. Showing off the hastening was always meant to buy something, and if he is reassigning me now, I have been let into the core of the family's spirit plant farmers. He reads my silence as agreement, and takes me away. Deep in the Jangsan mountain range, there is a valley folded inside layer after layer of ridges, as secluded as a place can be. Thick fog sits over everything, and the vegetation is dense enough to swallow a man. I have lived in the Wang family for more than 10 years, and I have never once heard this valley mentioned. The clan chief reads my face and tells me it is one of the family's secrets, ringed by a formation and known to almost no one. The 2 people responsible for it are the strongest spirit plant farmers the family has. 3rd Grandma Wang Zhongyo and 6th Grandfather Wang Zhongso. He is handing me to them with orders to study seriously. 2 people and 1 ox come out of the fog in front of a pair of thatched huts, small and very clean. 2 elderly figures with thin fading auras are sitting in rocking chairs, and both of them get up when they see who has arrived. Wang Zhongseo jokes about what could possibly bring the clan chief all the way out here. They both came out of the Wang family's mortals, and enough decades of familiarity have made them casual with him in a way almost nobody else is. He points at me and says he has brought them a junior to teach properly. I cup my hands, bow, and give my name, greeting 3rd Grandma and 6th Grandfather, and both look startled that the Nam generation has already grown this tall. The clan chief asks how long it has been since either of them left the valley, since the Sang generation is the backbone of the family now. Wang Zhongyo sighs that not many of their own cousins are left either. The Wang family has a legacy past 100 years old, and for most of it the number of cultivators stayed small, only swelling with the Sang generation. Counting daughters-in-law and sons-in-law, there are barely more than 60 of us. 60-odd cultivators produced across 50 years is the whole arithmetic of how rare a spiritual root is. The clan chief tells the 2 of them not to lead me astray, then steps onto his sword and disappears into the fog. Wang Zhongso asks after my situation, and when the 2 of them hear what my hastening can do, the surprise on their faces is unmistakable. Only then does the clan chief's purpose become obvious to them. This is a hidden place in one of the safest corners the family owns, so the two elders can teach me the legacy and shield me at once. More to the point, most of the family's precious spirit medicine grows in this valley, and somebody wants my cultivation technique pointed at it. Wang Zhengyo tells me there is an empty immortal cave up on the cliff, and that I should go clean one out for myself. Normally I will follow the two of them tending spirit medicine, and anything I do not understand, I am to ask about at once, she adds, waving me off, that I may go home once a month, and that I may not breathe a word about this place to anyone. I say I understand, and take Four Joys up to the cliff. Each immortal cave here is enormous, large enough for 7 or 8 people, and now every bit of one belongs to me. I tell Four Joys there will be no cowshed, and that he sleeps inside with me, scratch him behind the ears, and start clearing the place out. The spiritual chi here is thicker than anything I have worked in, so whatever I burn comes straight back and I finish early. Looking out over the valley afterward, I finally see what it really is. The cliff walls and the flat ground below are planted in neat ranks with spirit medicine of every kind, staggered by year so something is always ready to harvest. I walk back down and start on the simple organizing work. Wang Zhengso tells me every chore in the valley is mine from now on. Once the chores are done, he and Third Grandma will teach me to plant one type of spirit medicine at a time. The care of that type then passes to me completely until I have mastered it. The valley runs in 3 sections. The first nearest the exit holds more than 100 spirit fruit trees, all heavy producers, and the air is thick with blossom scent and the drone of spirit bees. Those bees belong to cousin Wang Song-su, and the spirit honey they make sells well. The second section is the middle, where the 2 elders and I live, and it is planted with a great many rare first-grade spirit medicine. Those are one of the family's main ways of earning spirit stones, and they almost never get used at home, because the Wang family has hardly any alchemists. The last section sits deep in the canyon under layers of formations. It is said to hold several second-grade spirit medicine, a level of precious I have no words for. I start with the spirit fruit trees, since they are the easiest to learn on. With Wang Zhengyo and Wang Zhengso correcting my hands directly, the spirit plant farmer legacy moves faster than it ever did on my own. After a full day of it, my stomach is complaining, so I wash rice, build a fire, and put dinner together. The clan chief sends spirit rice and demon beast meat up here on a schedule, so I eat better here than I ever did at home. Tonight, it is 5-colored chicken stewed with cauliflower snake, a dish somebody named Dragon and Phoenix bringing auspiciousness, and steamed demon beast bear paw glazed with spirit bee honey. Eating like this every day, my face is visibly filled out. 3 months disappear into the valley, and I have grown in ways that show. I fed a considerable stretch of my lifespan into the Gomak Bongchun Sutra, and learned exactly how stubborn it is. At the proficient stage, every single percentage of proficiency costs 5 years. My lifespan is thin again. 13 years old with 54 years left, still the 6th layer of chi refinement. The first layer of the sutra is better than a third of the way through proficient, the turtle breath concealment art at perfection as always. The spirit rain technique has reached a third of beginner, the golden Gyeong sword art a little past 4/10, and the first grade spirit plant farmer legacy is nearly through beginner. 3 months bought me what the previous half year did, and I am not going to complain about the price. It is also time for my monthly trip home. I ride Four Joys out through the formation, and by now the path is familiar, though I very nearly got lost the first time. Half an hour later, my own immortal cave comes into view, and my mother Ju Min has food waiting, since she knew I was coming. Then I see who is sitting at the table and I shout for my father before I am fully through the door. He left with the Demon Beast hunting team back in January, 7 months ago, and I have missed him more than I let on. Wang Songmyung lights up at the sight of me, and having heard from his wife that I study under the clan chief, he has decided my future is settled. He tells me to sit and eat. The 3 of us are warm and easy together. Around a mouthful of spirit rice, I ask whether the hunting team was any fun, and my father says it was. The team came back heavy, and although a few members were hurt, nothing was going to spoil the mood with that much demon beast meat coming home. Operating under the Wang family's name meant even loose cultivators kept their distance. He says they earned a great many spirit stones and the family handed out meat besides, enough to keep us fed for a long while. Then he takes my mother's hand and tells her tenderly to spend some spirit stones on new magical artifacts for drawing talismans, and I look very hard at my bowl. He pulls a jade bottle from his storage pouch and shakes 3 reddish-brown seeds into my palm, saying they came out of a demon beast's belly on an earlier hunt. Nobody knows what spirit plants they are, and he wants me to see whether I can grow them. They are the size of rice grains, round and full and cool against my skin, with a thread of vitality still inside, so sprouting will not be the problem. I put them away and thank him. I stay 2 days, then ride back and go straight to the 2 elders with the seeds in my hand. Wang Zhengso turns them over, studies them a long moment, digs through everything stored in his head, and finally names them. wind cloud grass, a first-grade spirit plant, and any herbivorous demon beast that eats it long enough can awaken wind attribute spells. He says it is rare, then asks where I got them, since the family has none and my mother's Jew family does not have it either. My face gives me away before my mouth does, because that is exactly what Four Joys needs. His innate earth-turning spell has already started showing results, and wind on top of that would be a gift. I tell them my father dug the seeds out of a demon beast on the hunting team, since there is nothing in that worth hiding. Wang Zhongse hands the seeds back and says the growing method is close to Chungpyeong grass and easy enough. The seeds germinate badly, which is why wind cloud grass is scarce in the wild. With 3 seeds and the Gomak Bangchun Sutra behind them, he thinks I can push the germination rate up hard enough to give the family another way to earn spirit stones. He tells me to plant them beside my honey peach tree, so I only have to walk to one place. I run the whole way back. The honey peach tree came with me when I moved and now grows right outside my immortal cave. The income from the Chungpyeong grass and everything else has already been converted into family contribution under my name. Sprouting them and turning the soil goes smoothly with the sutra doing the heavy work, and all 3 seeds break the surface with tender green leaves. Four Joys stands there drooling, guarding them like a temple. I lean into his ear and tell him, these 3 are for collecting seed and are not to be touched. Once wind cloud grass goes into large-scale planting, he can eat it daily until he begs me to stop. The greed goes out of him. Then I lead him over to the spirit fruit trees, because the weeding will not do itself. While I work, I run through what the legacy has taught me, and I can name all 3 kinds of spirit fruit tree in the valley now. There is the mountain herb fruit, which is one of the auxiliary ingredients for the foundation establishment pill. Cultivation families like ours will never touch the main ingredients, but auxiliaries are common enough that every family keeps several kinds. There is the white fragrant pear, the raw material for 100 brewed spirit wine, which also faintly strengthens the meridians, though the quantity here is disappointing. And then there is the white pomelo, which takes up most of the grove, its fruit hanging in pale spheres. Its juice clears the mind, sharpens the eyes, and drives off heart demons, which makes it one of the Wang family's quiet trump cards. The family folds it into the spirit water every member drinks daily, which eats through the crop fast enough that not one white pomelo has ever been sold outside. I like the white pomelo more than anything else in the grove. The scent of the flowers, the weight of the fruit, even the shape of the tree match my taste exactly, and it kills heart demons besides. It also eats fertilizer like a furnace, so I am forever scattering spirit fertilizer around the roots and turning the soil. The family keeps a deep reserve on hand for exactly that reason. I run the Golden Gyeong sword art, while Four Joys uses his innate talent, and between us we open the soil and leave holes for the fertilizer. According to Third Grandma, this batch is richer than anything I handled before, because it is made from the droppings of second-tier spirit beasts. Once every white pomelo is fed, I stretch until my spine cracks, and Wang Zhongyo calls me over. She asks whether I have learned anything beyond the Gomak Bangchun Sutra, and the spells a spirit plant farmer is required to know. I shake my head, because living inside the family I have never felt urgency about offensive spells, and my cheat has been aimed entirely at the sutra. The 2 of them look at my innocent face and remark that this brat was lucky to be born into a family, since a loose cultivator would not last a day. I play along and say that is precisely because our family is safe and harmonious. Out there alone, I would be drilling life-saving methods and would never have looked twice at the Gomak Bangchun Sutra. That part is honest. In chaos, a man learns to fight, and in peace he learns to read. I have a family behind me, which is the only reason a 6th-layer cultivator with no defense of his own sleeps soundly. Wang Zhongseo waves that off and says they know exactly what I am thinking. Ideas like mine hold up fine in a mortal town and fall apart in the cultivation world. The family cannot cover me forever, and even a spirit plant farmer will run into disputes eventually, so learning some spells early costs nothing and saves everything. He adds that with 5 spiritual roots, spells will come slowly no matter what I do, and that the 2 of them have a gift for me. Before I can work out what that means, dozens of talismans are laid out in front of me. Every one of them is a first-tier high-grade offensive talisman, and my throat closes, because that pile is worth dozens of spirit stones. I ask what this is, plainly. Wang Zhongyo tells me not to overthink it, that after all this time together they have simply grown fond of me. They both have children. The ones born without spiritual roots live and multiply in mortal towns and are old and frail now. The ones with spiritual roots are always away on family tasks, and a great many have not come back. Even the living ones are too busy to sit with 2 old people in a valley, and she says having me around has made them feel younger. She lowers herself back into her rocking chair and tells me to put every talisman away because it is better to carry them and never need them. Maybe they miss their children. I cannot fix that, and the road of cultivation has never let anyone stay beside family forever. All I can do is pay closer attention to how the 2 of them are feeling. I stow the talismans in my storage pouch. With cards like that in my pocket, The idea of ever leaving the mountain stops being quite so terrifying. I lie awake that night turning over what Six's grandfather said, and by morning I have decided he is right. This is the cultivation world. I need methods that hurt people, and leaning on the family is not a plan that survives contact with a bad year. Worst case, the family angers something enormous and gets erased, and then I would last a few days out there at most. So I say goodbye to the two elders, and ride 4 joys down to the scripture pavilion. The Cheongpyeong grass has already been harvested, so the family has credited me 200 contribution points, worth roughly 20 spirit stones. I have no idea whether that buys a cultivation technique or a polite refusal. I pay my respects to grandfather Wang Myunghui first, then start working the shelves. There are plenty of spells up there, and almost all of them are priced above 1,000 contribution points, which is a wall I cannot climb. I skim a few and give them up. I daydream about how much I could save if my cheat let me learn things by sight alone, then keep searching and come up with nothing. I am halfway out the door, thoroughly deflated, when Wang Myunghui calls after me and asks whether I am short on contribution points. I stay quiet, doing arithmetic I do not like. He is not offended. He simply tosses a cultivation technique down in front of me and says it is an incomplete volume he will sell cheap. The characters on it read, 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones in a hand legible from across the room, and the cover is falling apart. I pick it up, flip through it, and my mouth twitches because this grandfather several generations above me is absolutely trying to fleece a child. If the Gomak Bongchun Sutra counts as incomplete for missing its later layers, then this thing, whose one surviving layer is full of holes, is not a cultivation technique at all. It cannot be practiced. Then my thoughts stop dead, because my panel is already showing 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones sitting at the very start of beginner. The records are not even continuous. I glanced at it. I got started anyway, which is impossible, and then I remember there is no science in the cultivation world to be violated in the first place. It happened. It is not an illusion, and the only explanation I have is the same one I always have. So I look up at Wang Myunghui and ask him to charge a little less, since his great-grandson is poor, and this is simply beyond me. He holds up 2 fingers and says 200 contribution points, with 3 mortal martial arts books thrown in besides. He warns me not to sneer at them, since driven with spiritual chi, they hold their own against an early-stage chi refinement cultivator. He knows precisely what I am worth down to the last point. Not that I can refuse, because if anyone later finds I know 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones without buying it, there is no explanation that saves me. I grit my teeth and return to being penniless, then walk out with the ruined book and 3 martial arts manuals. Behind me, Wang Myunghui pulls a second copy of the same technique out of his storage pouch, lays it over his face and settles in for another nap. Riding back to the valley, I cannot think about anything else, because it is a genuinely miraculous technique. It gathers the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into a constructed body, then tears off half of a cultivator's divine soul and pours it in to make 2 clones. Once made, the clones are identical to the main body and answer to it, though their memories, realms, and cultivation techniques stay separate. Each one starts from nothing and can never grow past 1 major realm below the original. Beyond the clones, it also stacks cultivation techniques by quantity. Where the golden young sword art gives me 1 blade of sword chi, the finished technique would throw several at once with no loss of power. My copy cannot make clones at all, only the stacking, and for me that is more than enough. As for the 3 martial arts books, I will have my parents pass them to my older brother and sister, who will almost certainly want them. I am perfectly comfortable in my valley. Outside it, the mountain is coming apart. Wang Myunghui bursts into the clan chief's immortal cave with worry all over his face, demanding to know what has happened and why he was summoned. His eldest brother is behaving strangely today. He glances at his second sister, already seated and waiting, and reads nothing off her at all. Wang Myunghui sighs and hands him a jade slip, telling him to see for himself, because the Shinong sect sent it over just now. Wang Myunghui covers the slip with his divine sense, and his expression darkens line by line. A centennial demon beast tied. He counts the years on his fingers and finds the timing right, since the last one came not long after his own spiritual root was first tested. The order conscripts 1 foundation establishment cultivator and 30 chi refinement cultivators of middle and late stage. His voice shakes as he reads it, not from fear but from the helplessness of the arithmetic. 30 of them would hollow the Wang family out entirely, and the Shinong sect knows it. Refusal is not available, the clan chief says, because a family that refuses the Shinong sect becomes prey for everyone. He will go himself as the foundation establishment cultivator, since Wang Nongju has been dead in the eyes of outsiders for years and cannot show her face. Then he turns to his brother, who killed too many people inside the spirit treasure mystic realm, and has already drawn the Shinong sect's attention. Wang Myunghui is to find an opportunity, fake his death, and vanish. The 3 Foundation establishment pills the family obtained earlier have already been eaten, and all 3 clan members broke through successfully. To keep that quiet, the family announced they were still in seclusion, when in fact they were sent to other earthly squares to hide. The clan chief intends to use the conscription as cover, and announced that one of the 3 succeeded, one failed and died, and one was crippled and slid back a realm. That way, when he leaves, the outside world still sees a Foundation establishment cultivator standing over the Wang family. As for the 30, he will call for volunteers first, and if the numbers fall short, the oldest go. He has clearly already decided. The last centennial demon beast tide nearly erased the Wang family, and not one conscripted member came home from it. Wang Myung-ju and Wang Myung-hui both remember enough to go quiet, and they say most of their elders and most of their own siblings died in that tide. Wang Myung-hui had only just entered Qi refinement then, and clan members dragged him out to flee, and he crawled back only after it was over. The clan chief explains that the Wang family territory sat close to the Demon Beast Mountains then, which made it the front line by geography alone. After 100 years of building outward, the Cheongpung mountain range where the demon beasts gather now lies more than 300 miles off, and what happened then cannot repeat itself. By the Shinong sect's order, the tide erupts in 5 years, and those 5 years have to be spent. From today, the family empties its stores and buys cultivation resources hard, prioritizing medicinal pills, spirit beasts, and magical artifacts, which move a realm fastest. Stipends double, the contribution price on resources is halved, and the scripture pavilion goes completely free for the next 5 years. Wang Myung-ju agrees it is time to buy, since the news will drive prices up and every month of delay costs more. She adds that this explains why the Shinong sect released 10 Foundation establishment pills at auction, extended them on credit, and opened the Spirit Treasure Mystic Realm, one scheme stacked on the last. Wang Myung-hui asks whether the Shinong sect has ever taken a loss in its life, since all of it was arranged so families like theirs carry the weight. Then he raises the harder question that the Shinong sect's Golden Core Elder is supposedly near the end of his lifespan. If the sect cannot hold the Golden Core demon beasts, low-level cultivators can only run. Both of the others fall silent, because rumor says the Shinong sect has been paying enormous prices for medicinal pills that extend lifespan, which points the same direction. 2 sets of preparations, the clan chief says, and the lack of faith in that Golden Core Elder is written all over him. Wang Myung-ju is to leave tonight and buy property in mortal towns far from Demon Beast country, then move the clan's children out there in batches. If the tide passes cleanly in 5 years, she brings them home, and if it does not, the Wang family at least does not end. She does not argue. If the Sinong sect's Golden Core dies or loses, their Foundation establishment cultivators would not fill a Golden Core demon beast's teeth, let alone anyone still at Qi refinement. She says she will spread them across different earthly squares, and she has clearly thought it through. Most of the clan will stay and fight regardless, because the mortals cannot run and someone has to stand over them. There is one more thing, the clan chief says. Talisman production has to climb. Every talisman master in the family is to speed up their drawing, and external sales are to be restricted. Everything but the trivial talismans goes on quota, and the valuable ones get traded for other cultivation resources instead of sold. Wang Myung-hui takes that job himself and offers to pull the clan members stationed outside back home in stages, so they have time to cultivate. News like that does not stay in a room. Within days, every earthly square is roaring with it. Some people are terrified enough to have already fled, and others are thrilled. By long custom, the Sinong sect and the other 2 great Golden Core sects recruit loose cultivators during a centennial demon beast tide, opening resource exchanges that reach as high as Foundation establishment pills. Plenty of Qi refinement families start looking for shelter under the Shinong sect or under a Foundation establishment family. That is why 7 or 8 clan chiefs of Qi refinement families are sitting in the Wang family's hall today. The Wang family lies over 300 miles from the Cheongpung mountain range, and the small families raised in the last century are scattered across the space between, shallow-rooted and defenseless. Wang Myung-gae sits in the main seat sipping tea while they sweat. A heavy-set clan chief begs him to save them. The timing of a centennial demon beast tide is never fixed, since the 3 great Golden Core sects and the Golden Core demon beasts settle the eruption date between themselves. Being told there are 5 years left is not the same as being given 5 years. Another says their small families scrape together what little they have and now face a tide they cannot beat and cannot outlast. Wang Myung-gae clears his throat and tells them, without much warmth, that a centennial demon beast tide erupts because both sides want the number of cultivators reduced. From the Golden Core demon beast's side, human race cultivators are food and the best material for pushing a realm higher. A tide also thins out the low-level demon beasts that breed too fast, freeing enormous stretches of living space. From the sect's side, a tide flushes rare demon beasts into the open to be killed for resources, and a few dead low-level cultivators as a rounding error. A tide is simply the fastest harvest anyone has ever found. A victory hones disciples, fills storehouses, and pushes the human race's borders outward, which is how every span of ground under their feet became theirs. The heavyset clan chief says all of that is an open secret every one of them has known for years. Otherwise, the sects would not be negotiating eruption dates with demon beasts at all. And he says it nearly in tears. It is called a negotiation, but when the fighting starts, neither side holds anything back, and even golden core cultivators die in it. Wang Myunggae asks why they came at all, if they already know what has to be done, and the 7 or 8 of them side together. Running is not an option they dare take, because anyone who runs with a tide bearing down will answer to the Shenong sect afterward. Fighting is not an option either, because their families are a scattering of chi refinement cultivators with barely a late stage among them. Defending, Wang Myunggae says, and then simply scoffs. So either they throw themselves entirely on the Shenong sect the way loose cultivators do, then they seize whatever the 3 great golden core sects put on the resource exchange tables, and carve a future out of it. Since they came to him instead, he assumes that is not the plan. Or they fold themselves into one of the Foundation establishment families and become part of it, which would at least keep their bloodlines alive. Joining the Shenong sect is not realistic, since its standards for disciples are high and most of their cultivators would never pass, which leaves one door open. On my monthly ride home, I take 4 joys slowly through the Wang family territory and pass cultivator after cultivator I have never seen in my life. If I were not certain my memory is intact and the mountain around me is the same mountain, I would assume I had transmigrated a second time. All of them are building houses. Wang family cultivators live in immortal caves, so outside the thatched huts near the spirit fields there has never been much standing here. Now every empty plot has a hut or a wooden house going up on it. I count close to 30 before I give up and ride home wearing my confusion openly. My parents have been waiting long enough that I can start eating the moment I sit, so I put the question to the table. My father smiles and says the centennial demon beast tide is 5 years out. I nod, because the clan chief sends me news in the valley now and then, and I have been keeping track of the family's newest policies besides. That is the other reason for this trip, since the scripture pavilion has gone free, and I intend to leave it with an armful of cultivation techniques I could never afford. My father explains that once the news broke, chi refinement families came to the clan chief begging for help, preserving some part of their bloodline. Their foundations are too shallow to face a tide, and they will not run from the Shenong sect, so with no road up and no door out, they came to us. The family decided to go all in, he says, and the clan chief chose to absorb them outright, and he wears the expression of a man whose scheme has landed. I ask how the Shenong sect could agree, since those small families are its vassals too. And when the tide comes, they are cannon fodder the sect has already counted. He says the clan chief thought of that, which is why he took only the small ones with a handful of cultivators each, too young for the Shenong sect to value. Better still, they are being brought in through marriage. Even a sect looking for a fight cannot forbid cultivators from taking Dao companions and having children. The clan chief thinks of everything. Marriage turns them into our own people by degrees. Men marrying in and women marrying out. And grandchildren close the question for good. That explains the happiness characters pasted on every doorframe I rode past. And the numbers stay small, only about 30 new cultivators. Few enough that the Shenong sect has nothing to complain about and the family can absorb them without a riot. It does say something that for the sake of survival, a cultivator will hand over quite a lot. I ask what happens to the mortals of those families, and my father says the same method, since a few thousand divide easily among the Wang family. My mother glares at him and tells me not to listen, because the clan chief ordered a matchmaking festival and that is all that happened. The 3 of us laugh our way through clearing the dishes, and with contribution costs halved across the board, this meal is frankly a greasy feast. Then I go to the scripture pavilion, free now and therefore packed, where grandfather Wang Myunghui is still asleep in his rocking chair with nobody brave enough to wake him. I slip in and start on the ground floor. Free only covers chi refinement stage techniques down here, and the second floor is above my station, but the ground floor is more than enough. I am after 1 attacking spell, 1 defensive, 1 for movement, and 1 for the mind, which covers almost anything the chi refinement stage can throw at me. Half a day of pulling books off shelves gets me all 4. The Youngseo palm technique, the Vajra Buddha body technique, the falling leaf footwork, and the soul skill. The Youngseo palm technique drives spiritual chi out through the palm, and at equal rank its force is not a step below sword chi. The Vajra Buddha body technique is a body cultivator method that refines and hardens the physical body until spells of the same rank stop leaving marks. The falling leaf footwork is a movement spell built for evading inside an earthly square, and it is supposed to be excellent when things get real. The soul skill trains soul power, and taken to perfection it lets a cultivator forge divine sense while still at chi refinement and attack with it. All 4 carry to the 9th layer, which is as far as I need them to go. On the way out I also take an introduction to alchemy, Alchemists may be rare in the Wang family, but the first grade alchemist legacy still exists, and the spirit plant knowledge already in my head should cut the learning curve to pieces. After that, the valley starts filling with the sound of rushing wind. I finish a full set of the Yongseo palm technique soaked through, and finally reach basic proficiency, while the two elders correct me from the side. Wang Jung-se laughs and asks why this little rascal is working so hard lately, dragging two old fellows out to keep him company. It is a joke, since I have gone out of my way to keep them entertained. I tell him the Centennial Demon Beast Tide is coming and I am getting ready. Ever since I took his advice, I have understood what my own combat strength is worth, and until now I never had the contribution to act on it. Wang Zhongyo says gently that there are still 5 years, and that even if the Shinong set conscripts, it will never reach a boy my age. She adds that the change in my thinking is a good thing regardless, and that I should use the time. Months go by with the figure in the valley either bent over spirit plants or drilling from first light to last. The two elders are visibly pleased. Four Joys is always somewhere nearby working his own innate spell, as though he has decided he intends to be useful one day. Watching Wang Myungge's back disappear into the fog again, I remarked that the clan chief has been coming to pick spirit medicine more and more often. Normally Wang Jung-so and Wang Jung-yo harvest the matured spirit medicine into jade boxes and the clan chief collects them later. Lately he is doing the picking himself, and there is only one thing driving that. The year turns and the annual celebration comes around again, and the clan chief cancels it, which disappoints a great many people. I decide not to go anywhere and cultivate instead. Every year of lifespan I have banked over these months goes into the Gomak Bangchun Sutra, a full 150 of them for 30 proficiency. The rest of my spells and legacies climb on daily practice alone. 13 years old with 59 years left, still the 6th layer of chi refinement. The sutra's first layer now 2/3 of the way through proficient. The turtle breath concealment art at perfection. The spirit rain technique and the golden kyong sword art have both pushed deep into beginner. The 4 new spells are barely scratched. The Yongseo palm technique and the Vajra Buddha body technique a little way in. The falling leaf footwork and the soul skill hardly awake. 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones is creeping along at the front of beginner. My first grade spirit plant farmer legacy has crossed into proficient, and the first grade alchemist legacy has opened. A few more months and the sutra reaches minor achievement. A 60% hastening will run Chungpyeong grass, and every other single year spirit plant to maturity fast enough to bury the family in talisman paper. The spirit plant farmer legacy reaching proficient has already doubled my efficiency in the fields, which hands me back hours for spells. The alchemist legacy opened so quickly only because I already know spirit medicine cold, and the next step is buying a pill furnace and starting to burn things. The introduction to alchemy carries 2 formulas worth starting on. There is the grain abstinence pill, which kills hunger and sells everywhere in the cultivation world, and healing powder, which closes external wounds for early-stage chi refinement cultivators. The spirit medicine both of them need is common enough to buy with a trickle of contribution. Laying all that out, I can see my own position in the family getting heavier by the season. That is when I start wondering whether I should ask the clan chief for a batch of Chongpyeong grass seed. The Wang family was built on talismans, and talisman paper is the spine of that. Cheongpyeong grass, which nobody would look at twice in ordinary times, has quietly become something no family would sell to an outsider. I take the idea to the 2 elders and they back it. Wang Jung-yo says there is no room left inside the valley, but the clan chief could open a spirit field just outside and ring it with a formation. She sends a sound transmission asking him to come. He arrives, strokes my head with relief all over his face, and thanks me on the family's behalf for thinking of the family at all. Then he refuses tactfully, saying I am far too young and that cultivation and study come first. That makes me nervous, because my cheat is bound to this family, and if the clan bleeds in the beast tide, it comes out of me. Every scrap of foundation I lay now is a door left open later. So I tell him everyone is working for the family, and I refuse to fall behind, that Cheongpyeong grass matters and I can cut its maturation time hard. Every extra plant is a few more sheets of talisman paper, a few more talismans drawn, and a few more chances the family gets when the tide arrives. I say I can balance cultivation against field work, and that if he truly cannot stand to let a child work, he can simply pay me more family contribution. Loyalty first, then the invoice, all in one breath. The 3 adults in front of me light up at what they hear as a child's earnestness. Somebody says that if every member thought like this, the Wang family would become a monster. The clan chief asks whether I have thought it through, and I nod hard. He agrees on the condition that my cultivation never slips, and tells the 2 elders to keep reminding me. As for contribution, he says, no problem. And on top of whatever family regulations provide, he will add a little extra per Cheong grass plant out of his own pocket. My eyes light up before I can stop them. 1 acre of Chongpyeong grass earns roughly 200 contribution points, and with the rate doubled, that is 400. 1 acre holds about 110 plants, and the clan chief's private bonus of 1 point per plant adds better than 100 more. Under my hastening, single-year Cheongpyeong grass matures in about 7 months, and at my current level I can run 10 acres at once without straining. That comes out to 14 or 1500 contribution points every 7 months, which does not just cover me. It covers medicinal pills for my parents, and a pill furnace, and eventually a magical artifact of my own. 3 days later, the clan chief comes to the valley and walks me out to it. The field was opened specifically for me and sits close enough to run back and forth. It is 10 acres of rich soil under thick spiritual chi, wrapped in a thin mist that hides the outside world. He says the perimeter formation keeps other clan members out, and my method's unseen, and that he will come personally to settle the contribution at every harvest. Then he throws me a storage pouch holding 10 acres worth of Cheongpyeong grass and leaves, without another word. Four Joys and I look at each other and grin. I tell him it is time to work, and all those months of practicing his plowing talent finally have somewhere to go. 1 boy and 1 ox move through the field in perfect time until the whole 10 acres are sown. Then I tell him to watch my spirit rain technique, form the seal, and pull down a dark cloud heavy with spiritual chi that empties into the soil. The patch it covers is not large, but it beats hauling water on his back the way we used to. He keeps charging into the rain for a bath, and I keep laughing at him. Lying back against his flank, I tell him he will be staying out here to guard the spirit field, while I run back and forth myself. He nudges me hard enough to make his opinion clear. I let it go. We have been together over a year, and somewhere in there we stopped being a boy and his ox. I tell him instead that on my next trip home I will ask my mother to buy spirit beast medicinal pills from the Jew family. The serving spirit pills were good, but there must be better. For the spirit stones, I can take an advance from the clan chief against the contribution this Cheongpyeong grass will earn. Life settles into a loop between the valley and the spirit field, and I stretch and yawn my way through it, with the spring wind at my back. The Cheongpyeong grass has thrown up seedlings and turned the whole 10 acres green. When I count the days and find it is time to go home, I ride out of the field. This time I go up to the clan chief's immortal cave instead of down to my own. He comes out before I can open my mouth and asks what this little brat wants, coming to find him unprompted. I tell him I missed him, and he tells me to cut the nonsense. So I tell him I want to draw contribution in advance, and trade it for spirit stones. Contribution converts into spirit stones and spirit sand inside the family. Never the other way around. His eyes lift, puzzled, and he points out that I eat, drink, and sleep inside the family, and cannot possibly have anywhere to spend spirit stones. I tell him I want my mother to buy spirit beast medicinal pills from the Jew family for 4 joys, since they built themselves on beast taming and make the best. Then I lay out the arithmetic. 7 months for 10 acres of Cheongpyeong grass to mature, call it 1500 contribution, and rub my palms while I wait to see whether he bites. The valley itself earns me nothing, since until I turn 18 the family simply feeds and supplies me and I study under Wang Zhongyou besides. He asks whether I want all of it in spirit stones. I say yes, because I intend to buy in one go. He counts out 150 spirit stones and tells me to take them. I count them twice and get them into my storage pouch before he can reconsider. Then I go straight home and hand the whole pile to my mother, which startles her, since 150 spirit stones buys a great many good things. I invent a reason and ask her to do the purchasing. She says buying is no trouble, though prices have climbed lately, and asks what exactly I want, whether serving spirit pills will do. I tell her some serving spirit pills, since they will push 4 joys along, then ask whether there's anything that raises a spirit beast's raw strength. There is, she says, but it is expensive and comes with purchase limits. And that has nothing to do with the beast tide. Pills like that are precious, and the Jew family set the limits to keep rival families from stockpiling them. I tell her to buy some anyway because a stronger 4 joys is insurance I can ride. As for anything else, I leave it to her judgment since she came out of the Jew family and knows spirit beasts better than I ever will. She takes the spirit stones with the look of a woman who already has a list. Only then do I notice the immortal cave is missing somebody and ask where my father is. She says he has gone out with the demon hunting team again. 10 days later, the clan chief carries a pile of jade bottles into the valley. I know at once my mother asked him to deliver them, since as far as the outside world knows, I am the boy cultivating under the clan chief. I go through the bottles one at a time and get happier with each one. There is a note. 10 bottles of serving spirit pills. 8 to a bottle. 80 spirit stones. 1 bottle of bloodburst pills. 6 pills for raising a spirit beast's strength. 60 spirit stones. 1 turtle vein pill for raising a spirit beast's defense. 20 spirit stones. My mother covered the last 10 out of her own pocket. I call 4 joys over and put the turtle vein pill straight into his mouth. It is foul, because he refuses to swallow and I force it down his throat while telling him good medicine has always tasted terrible. Then I lay out his schedule. Bloodburst pills every 3 days, and serving spirit pills daily. and there is enough here to run that a long while. He settles down beside me to digest, and his yellow hide starts giving off a faint glow. He lows suddenly and his coat thickens, and when I run a hand along it, it is denser and harder than it was that morning. I ask whether he has reached the second layer of chi refinement. A spirit beast's realm climbs on its bloodline rather than the way the human race does it, though outside help can still push the strength up, and he nods. 4 joys advancing is worth celebrating, so I reward myself with a whole stewed chicken. The spring wind comes around again, and I ride home through a Wang family that has started to bother me. By any normal reckoning, the cultivators who went to test spiritual roots should have been back long ago, and there is not one new face on the mountain. Could there really have been no child born with a spiritual root this year? The family's records do hold such a year, but it is rare enough to be a story. On top of that, several small chi refinement families have just merged in and swelled our mortal population, which should push the odds the other way. And the part that sits worst is that my friends are gone. I made time to knock at their homes, hoping to gather everyone for a small reunion, and came away with nothing. 4 joys carries a troubled boy back into the valley, and another day starts. I cannot leave it alone, so I find the 2 elders out collecting spirit medicine and ask them where the children of the family have gone. Both of them look up, surprised, and ask what I mean. I say the cousins and siblings around my own age have all vanished from the family, and I want to know where. The 2 of them exchange a glance, and there is worry sitting in both pairs of eyes. They say they have been in this valley the whole year and could not possibly know anything about the outside. Then they tell me not to worry, that with the clan chief in charge the children cannot be in danger, and that their parents likely took them away. I look at the 2 of them for a moment and let it drop. When I went knocking, I saw those parents with my own eyes, so I bury the question, because life goes on and there is very little I can reach at my level, and worrying at a locked door only wears out my hands. I step through the falling leaf footwork and send palm chi flying across the valley, every strike threading past the spirit medicine without clipping a leaf. The spell keeps advancing and there is real weight behind it now. It is a shame I have no opponent because long-term sparring would double my rate, and that is what I was hoping to arrange when I went looking for my friends. Still, spells climb far faster than cultivation techniques, and even with my cheat sitting idle I can drive this one to proficient within a few months. Life and death combat would sharpen it faster again, which is precisely why it is not for me. If this family can carry me through the ages, I have no reason on earth to gamble, and standing quietly in the background remains the correct answer. So I stop thinking about it and keep going, harder, running all 4 spells one into the next in a single unbroken sequence. 2 figures come down out of the sky on their swords and drive straight for the clan chief's immortal cave. By evening, the mountain is talking about nothing else, because strangers do not walk onto Wang family ground unless the Shinong sect stands behind them. Nobody learns what is said inside that cave, only that from that day 2 Shinong sect cultivators are quartered on our land. I happen to know more of it than most. The first piece is the clan chief's announcement about the 3 clansmen who swallowed a Foundation establishment pill. 1 broke through, 1 was crippled, 1 died outright. A family that suddenly grows an extra Foundation establishment cultivator is worth a visit, so the Shinong sect sent an elder to lean on us for more disciples when the tide arrives in 4 years. The second piece is uglier. Since word spread, loose cultivators and small chi refinement families have been running or turning on each other, so sect cultivators are being planted across the district to sit on the troublemakers. The trick works because the squabbling stops the week they arrive. None of it touches me, and I intend to keep it that way. All I want is to cultivate, farm my grass, and give 2 strangers in sect robes no reason to look twice at a boy on a field ridge. The spirit fields are unnaturally quiet these days. I sit out on the ridge with Introduction to Alchemy across my knees, work through it a page at a time, and the further I read, the worse it looks. I finally understand why this family has produced so few alchemists. The spirit plant farmer legacy has a road under it, and a man can walk it alone and make a name out of nothing but patience. Alchemy has no road. It runs on years of experience with heat control, refining method, and the exact instant the pills fuse, and without a master at the elbow, the only way through is a mountain of failures. Taking the spirit plant farmer legacy first was right, since practicing alchemy would eat spirit stones I do not have. I keep turning pages, because the sooner I finish, the sooner this book goes back to the scripture pavilion. 4 Joys butts my shoulder and points his nose at the outer edge of the fields. The spirit field is wrapped in a formation that holds fog against its inner face, so nothing outside can see in while I can just make out shapes moving past. And there is a figure standing at the entrance now. A voice comes through asking whether Wang Nam Nam is inside, and I know it before the sentence finishes. So I open the formation and let her in. Barely anyone in the family knows this field exists, which means whoever finds the door came with the clan chief's blessing. It is my cousin Wang Songzu, the only spirit insect cultivator this family has. I ask what brings her out here, and the moment I speak, I notice that standing in front of her feels the way standing in front of the clan chief feels. So I ask outright whether she is the one who broke through, because the clan chief gave the family the count and never the names, and the mountain has chewed on it for months. It never crossed my mind the successful one was her, since she was at the 4th layer of chi refinement the last time I looked. She tells me not to be a fool, that plenty of things cannot be read off the surface. Then she walks the field, remarking that I am growing fast, that I am small to be minding 10 acres of Chongpyeong grass alone, that she can see why the clan chief is fond of me. I smile and say nothing. Nobody walks this far to compliment a boy's weeding. She tells me that from today anything I need comes to her, because the clan chief has other business and no time to watch me. I ask whether he is handing her the clan chief's seat. She shakes her head with nothing in her voice, only that it is not that yet, that he is letting her run family affairs first. It is the same thing with a longer fuse. It makes sense too, since the family needs a foundation establishment great cultivator holding the ground, while the clan chief prepares for a beast tide he is too old to fight twice. I cut my hands and tell her I will be troubling her from now on. She unfastens a beast taming bag from her belt and holds it out. I reach for it and pull my hand straight back, because something inside presses down on me like a palm laid on the back of my neck. She tells me not to be afraid, that it will not hurt me. It is her spirit insect, the 18-star glazed gourd, built for defense and able to break down any poison there is. She wants it kept close to me, and if I land in real danger she will feel it happen. Inside the bag lies a ladybug the size of a human head, 18 star-shaped spots across a shell in colors that do not belong on anything alive. The pressure off it sets my hand shaking. I ask what realm it is, and she says that is not my concern, that it is enough the thing can save my life on the day my life needs saving. It forages on its own, and most days I will forget it is there. Then she says that is all she came for and turns to leave. I call after her and ask where the rest of the family's children have gone, because I have not forgotten and I am not going to. She thinks about it a moment too long before telling me I will find out later. The fields go quiet again with nobody left in them but one boy, one ox, and one insect. I ask the gourd its name, get nothing back, and let it be. The pressure stays with me all afternoon, heavier than anything that ever came off the Black Armor King bug, the other spirit insect of hers I have stood next to. Then I notice 4 joys jammed into the far corner of the field, shivering. It takes a while to talk him around, telling him the 18-star glazed gourd is family now and has no interest in eating him. He gets his spirit back, though he keeps a wide berth, and he will not let me on his back while I carry the thing. So I walk home on foot. Wang Jung-yo and Wang Jung-seo are bent over their own work, and neither of them glances at the bag on my hip. 2 spirit plant farmers in a valley full of spirit medicine, and a pressure like that walks past them unremarked. I want to ask, and I do not. I cook the evening meal and take myself back into my immortal cave to cultivate, turning it over the whole time I sit, because my cousin has to be running the turtle breath concealment art. There is no other way a woman sitting at the 4th layer of chi refinement turns up, one morning as a foundation establishment great cultivator. And if she is running it, then I have to ask what the rest of the family is running, where that cultivation technique was shelved when I stumbled on it. How hard it truly is to cultivate. July comes around and 7 months are gone. The Cheongpyeong grass matures. I cut it and spread it out to dry. My cousin comes up the path to tell me the clan chief already advanced the contribution for this planting, so there will be no second payment. She gathers the crop while she talks, hands over the spirit seeds for the next batch, and tells me to keep planting. I stop her before she can go and ask whether there is news from outside, since I have had my head down for months and know nothing. The Cheongpyeong mountain range has already started going up in defenses, with the 3 great golden core sects each taking a region and the affiliated families and loose cultivators assisting under them. The Wang family's demon beast hunting team has been conscripted. My chest tightens, because my father is on that team, so I ask whether there is danger now. There is definitely danger, she says, since the Chongpyeong mountain range is where demon beasts gather, but foundation establishment cultivators in the late stage are stationed all through it, and problems generally stay small. Everything is still the defense setup stage, so she tells me not to worry, and she knows what I am worried about and has no better comfort to give. There is one thing she keeps back, which I only understand much later, that small beast tides have already begun breaking against the line. They are probes, both sides counting how much the other has grown in 100 years. She waves a hand and goes, because she has more to do in a day than I have in a season. Enough time passes with the 2 of them nose to nose that 4 joys stops fearing the 18-star glazed gourd, and I get to ride again. We are on our way back to the valley for a load of spirit fertilizer, when I go into my panel. 7 months of this family staying alive have stacked up on the far end of me, and the ledger reads 274 years, so I sell off the back acres. 165 of those years go on the Gomak Bongchun Sutra and carry it into minor achievement. That drags my catalysis rate up to 60% and hauls my realm along behind it into the 7th layer of chi refinement, the late stage at last. 30 more go into the soul skill, one push after another, until it stops climbing and settles at perfection. The mental energy in my head turns into divine sense the instant it lands, reaching dozens of yards out. Everything inside that circle prints itself onto my mind at once, like a god's view of my own field. I went for the soul skill first because the strength of the soul matters enormously to alchemy. When I asked Wang Zhongyo, she told me puppets, talismans, and formations lean on it just as hard. Mine now rivals a freshly made foundation establishment cultivators, and half the things in Introduction to Alchemy that used to sit there like locked doors open. The good feeling lasts as long as it takes me to sweep the new divine sense over the beast taming bag, which gives me nothing back. If the 18-star glazed gourd is a foundation establishment spirit beast, then what is a boy with the worst spiritual roots in the district doing with one on his hip? How much more is this family sitting on? I calm down and look at the rest of the ledger. 79 years still standing, 15 of which go on one chi transforms into 3 pure ones to push it to minor achievement before I close the purse. What the panel shows me is a boy named Wang Nam Nam, 14 years old with 64 years of life left to spend. He sits at the 7th layer of chi refinement with the road onward still open. The Gomak Bongchen Sutra stands at its first layer, 1% into minor achievement. The turtle breath concealment art and the soul skill are both finished at perfection and will never cost me another year. The spirit rain technique sits at 92% of beginner, the golden Gyung sword art at 91, and the Young Seo palm technique at 67. The Vajra Buddha body technique stands at 82, and the falling leaf footwork at 84. One chi transforms into 3 pure ones holds its own first layer at 1% of minor achievement. Of the 2 legacies, first grade spirit plant farmer has climbed to 6% of proficient, while first grade alchemist is 22% through beginner. Every spell and both legacies have gained real ground. In a good mood, I fetch the spirit fertilizer out of the valley, scatter it across the spirit field, and work it in. At 60%, the catalysis technique brings Chongpyeong grass to harvest in under 5 months, which means 2 crops a year off these 10 acres and 3,000 contribution points out of 1 field. The spells have gotten proficient enough that the labor barely bites, and I catch myself already thinking about how much more ground I could take on. The Chongpeng mountain range. Inside the stretch the Sinong sect oversees, the sect leader has carved the ground into pieces and set 3 foundation establishment families to hold 1 each. The Wang family draws a position butted up against the sect's own outer sect disciples. It is not good ground, sitting at the foot of the range with no natural defense on it, which leaves everything resting on many formations. Clan Chief Wang Myonggae stands on his flying sword above the work, watching formations go up one after another, and the sight pulls up more memory than he wants. This is the front line, and these formations will hold off the low-level demon beasts and keep his clansmen breathing. The beast tide is not what worries him most. He turns his eyes deeper into the range and thinks about what he found 100 years ago. A much younger Wang Myonggae went looking for records of the last tide, and one document inside the Shenong sect put ice down his back. The sect's own records say this kind of beast tide has been rolling in for over 1,000 years, and while both sides bleed badly every time, neither has ever been crippled by it. The last one broke that pattern, with casualties higher than any tide before it, and whole species of demon beasts went extinct and were never seen again. On the human race side, the Sinong sect lost more than half of everything, and families vanished off the map. Of the foundation establishment families in the district, only the Wang family and the Zhu family came out the other end. Even the Yu family, which counts as a foundation establishment family today, only climbed there within the last 100 years. The sect's best guess is that ghost cultivators took a quiet hand in it. Ghost cultivators, Wang Myonggae says to the empty air. The words come out cold with a tremor under them, because anything is possible in the cultivation world, but that is a name almost nobody ever hears spoken. The conditions for becoming one are brutally strict, so their numbers stay small and unrecorded, and a century of digging turned up almost nothing. Several powerful individuals have argued in writing that somewhere in this cultivation world there is a place where ghost cultivators gather. Against them the ordinary methods do nothing, and what works is divine sense and raw soul power and nothing else. That is why he has never stopped hunting for cultivation techniques that build the soul. 100 years of hunting bought him exactly 2 books, one a chi refinement stage technique called the soul skill, which he shelved in the scripture pavilion, a foundation establishment technique called blazing soul meditation, which every foundation establishment cultivator in the family is given. Inside my immortal cave, I am eating with my mother, my older brother, and my older sister, whom Jumin brought up for a short stay. The 2 of them have grown into good-looking young adults who have studied mortal martial arts since they were small, and have started in on the 3 manuals I handed them a while back. We are siblings who have not been in the same room in years, and the warmth has thinned to the point where none of us knows what to say. My mother is still hunting for a topic when a voice transmission reaches her, and her face changes as she sets down her chopsticks and tells us third great-grandfather has fallen. My brother and sister look confused. I sit there refusing to believe it. Third great-grandfather Wang Myung-hui is the old man who keeps the scripture pavilion, mild as milk to everyone who walks in. The one chi transforms into 3 pure ones nearly got me into trouble under his roof, so he is not a man I will ever forget. I ask whether he was not a foundation establishment cultivator, and my mother says the only ones this family has are the clan chief and Wang Song-su. The third elder was never one of them, though he was over 100 years old. She has heard the clan chief once found a longevity pill for him that bought more time than he should have had. In the end, no pill outruns the erosion of years. It sits heavily on her, because the old generation is the foundation this family is built on, and everyone that falls takes a piece of the building with it. The word came from 7th grandpa, Wang Zhonggong, so we have to go, and she tells her eldest son and eldest daughter to stay put in the immortal cave. Then she takes me toward the top of the Jiangsan mountain range. On the way I ask whether 7th grandpa is the family's only alchemist. She confirms it and adds that Wang Zhonggong is also 3rd great-grandfather's son, living out at the market near the Shenong sect, which is why I have barely laid eyes on him. I push on and ask whether that longevity pill came out of 7th grandpa's furnace. Probably not, she says, because a longevity pill is a 2nd grade medicinal pill at minimum, and he cannot refine anything at that level. So the clan chief most likely got it out of the Shenong sect. She quickens her pace after that, and I let the disappointment pass without showing it. I had been hoping to swallow a few longevity pills one day to see whether the far end of my ledger moves for a pill the way it moves for a year. If only the Shenong sect can make them, that experiment is going nowhere. We arrive at Wang Zhonggong's immortal cave to find the ground packed, a bigger crowd than the one that gathered when my own grandfather died, with cultivators still arriving until people are jostling for room. 2 cultivators in Sinong sect robes come out from the front of the cave while I watch, almost certainly the pair stationed inside the family. A foundation establishment family loses an elder, and the sect sends someone to stand there and look solemn. Watching it, I decide a cultivator's funeral is much like a mortal's, except that only cultivators with a family behind them get one. A loose cultivator is as likely to be eaten by a demon beast as buried. For 7 days, the whole family goes about in dark colors, and the clan chief comes back from the Cheongpung mountain range for it. He looks at his clansmen and lets out a long breath, and in the faces of the 2 Shenong sect cultivators, there is something uncomfortably close to satisfaction. The proceedings run smooth all the way to the burial, because no scoundrel in this district is fool enough to test a foundation establishment family at a funeral. The heaviness will not lift for a while, but life goes on regardless. Back in the valley, Wang Zhongyo and Wang Zhongso look more worn down than I have ever seen them. When I start to say something, Wang Zhongyo waves it off, telling me to go cultivate, that they have watched more partings of life and death than I have had meals. So I leave them to it. 4 Joys is lying at the mouth of my immortal cave, with his eyes locked on the wind cloud grass, which has thrown seed and been replanted until there is a proper patch of it. I have promised him the whole crop minus what I hold back for seed. I warn him that if he eats every stalk and still fails to awaken a wind-type spell, that is his problem and not mine, and he pulls his head in and says nothing. Then I go down the row and start hastening the growth of it anyway. A few days later, I go to Wang Song-su to ask for another advance, and she waves me in and keeps working, telling me to say the thing and skip the preamble. So I say the thing. I want to draw contribution points forward again to buy spirit medicine in a pill furnace, because I exchanged for the alchemist legacy and want to find out what I can do with it. She says I am biting off far more than I can chew and warns me not to wreck one pursuit chasing another. If I have hours to spare, she says, I would do better to learn insect cultivation from her, since the cultivation world respects strength above everything. An alchemist may hold an honored seat, but that seat is worth nothing in front of someone who can kill him. She adds that 7th grandpa is busier than she is. I give her an awkward grin and tell her I have barely gotten a foothold in the alchemist legacy on my own. I have to at least try it, and if it truly does not work, I will drop it. That it will delay neither my spirit plants nor my cultivation. She says fine, as I wish, and asks what spirit medicine I need. Spirit medicine for grain abstinence pills and for healing powder, I tell her. She says she will have 7th grandpa buy the medicine in the pill furnace at the market, since the family holds no stock. That the cost comes out of me when the goods arrive, with any remainder settled against Cheongpyeong grass.